All right, we live and on the air back in here with another one. Like to shout out everybody who's making it in the building. Y'all know the routine, whether you're catching it live or you're catching it after it's uploaded. Make sure you hit that like button. Shout out to everybody who already seen the chat right now. We'll be acknowledging the people that make it in bright and early. You can see we are joined by Brother Xavier. We about to get into this. Y'all can see the title and the thumbnail. So y'all already know we about to step in it today. It's gonna be a tough one. Going to be a tough one. So without further ado, I'm about to go ahead and roll the intro. Let's get ready to go. Let's get it.
Peace, folks. This is X from TPOT Media. Open your mind and wake your black ass up. You know what time it is. Hit that damn like button as you make your way in the door. Grab a seat, settle in, get ready. It's the Grown Man Hour with your host, my man, Bernard Riley.
All right. We are back in the building. Shout out to everybody in the building. Shout out to the early bird squads who make it in bright and early. Drop a comment and hopefully a like before we even get things started. Shout out to Joe Ethereal coming through, says another one. Shout out to the wonderful RM who's always there moderating. Shout out to her. Do appreciate you and all the work you put in. And shout out to Mr. Negative to Negative Man. I love when he come through and give me one word answers to the title question. Yes, I titled it, is the Manosphere talking about your mother, your sister, and your daughter, or your daughter? Yeah, he says yes. And that's what we're about to be getting to. That's why a lot of people get triggered. That's why a lot of people are hurt. That's why a lot of people be wanting to shut this thing down. We're about to be digging all the way into that when I throw it to Brother Xavier, who looked like a little mini movie going on right there. That's interesting. But anyway, we gonna get to that in a second. Nobility at best says, I got a family full of them. Space Kitchen Podcast in the building says, let's go. Paul Game in the building. Shout out to you. Shout out to RM acknowledging the creator of the voiceover. Well, no, that's the SKC, the creator of the intro. X, who we are joined by today, is the voice of the intro. Shout out. The talented Mr. Heat in the building says, good day, BR. Shout out Winthrop. He says he had sex with my mama. What? Okay, I don't know what's going on there. Eclectic agitator in the building. Shout out to everybody. These old mamas. Yep. Shout out to Pablo. Shout out to Freeman's Journal in the building. Says my younger female relatives, definitely. The older ones have some sense. Interesting. So what excuse me. Without further ado, we're about to go to the man of the hour. I was trying to think of a word to describe you, but I got a loss for words. But Brother Xavier in the building of the Prophet of Thought series. Welcome back. Glad to have you back. Welcome aboard.
peace, Brother Bernard, everybody out there in the chat avenue. What's good with it? I'm back, y'all. And y'all know
Yeah.
when I come, I always bring hell with me. So be prepared for hell.
He he about to open up the gates of hell on y'all old mama. About to open up the gates of hell. But welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Now before I get going here, I'm too interested and distracted by what you got going on here. This looks like some 3D movie. It's like the story mode part of a video game. Like what's going on here? What's that?
um, well, what I've been doing lately is I've been taking clips from God of War.
Okay.
And this is Kratos at the end of the God of War game, and he's fighting this dude, and the mother is like a wizard or a witch, and she summoned this giant, to stop him from killing her son. I also use another one. This is actually, oh no, this is from Elden Ring. This one here is Kratos and Kronos. And Kronos is the giant, and Kratos is the little man.
Ah.
And these things kind of they kind of replicate what I think about some of this YouTube stuff.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like, some of this stuff is like really, because some of the people on here, it's what I think of some of them. All right, it's kind of what I think of some of them. Then I have another one from
Hold on,
Elden
explain
Ring.
that. Explain that. How does what we seeing on the screen relate to what you think of some people around these parts?
Now look at the giant. That's a
Okay.
giant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look in his hand.
I think
See
he was
that?
holding a little bitty
That's a
person.
that's a little man. That's kind of what I think at times. It's like really, really. It's kind of what I think, man. At times, not everybody. Just a handful of people I kind of think that way of. And
Uh-huh.
some of the things on YouTube I think that way of. Not all things, but a handful of things I kind of look at it that way. But this is really my favorite one here. This is my favorite one. I like
Mm-hmm.
this one more than any of them. And it says, go kill yourself so I don't have to do it. I mean, that. See, I'm just
Okay.
having fun. I'm just having fun with it now. I'm just having fun with it. I'm not taking it too seriously. And I'm a type of person where I like to laugh at myself. So, I'm just kind of having one with it. But I still got the old school stuff. I still got the
Mm-hmm.
old school TPOT stuff. I've got the
Okay.
old school TPOT,
Yeah.
gifts, and I still have that
Yeah.
stuff.
You you
This
you
other
you
stuff.
you're ahead of the game. You tech your whole your ability to do this in the graphics, and I mean, well, I know SKC do help you out with a lot of that, but
Oh yeah,
for
oh yeah.
an old guy, you're ahead of the game on. So I don't even know how to do half of the stuff you be doing over there.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I
I don't
got
even know how
I
to. I
got
don't even
brother
know how to.
Supreme. I got brother Supreme. I can always fall back on him and
Right, right,
ask
right.
him a few things, and he gives me stuff. I got access to a lot of his archives, so I can kind of just kind of dig through there and kind of add my own little thing to it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
shout out to my boy.
Yeah, yeah. I got to figure out someday to how to do that. Like when I turn my camera off, or how to. I don't even know how to pull up a live video through StreamYard like that. But we don't got to talk about it right now. We can talk about that off
Yeah,
the air.
yeah,
But
yeah,
let's
yeah.
go. Let's go ahead and let's
Let's
go
do it.
ahead and get into the topic. When one of the thing that we were going to be talking about, and I titled it, is the Manosphere talking about your mama, your sister, or your daughter. I think that's what I titled it. But the general gist of what you wanted to talk about here, the general gist of what you wanted to talk about here is I'm trying to pull it up to make sure we got it. It was, more or less says the uncomfortable conversations. Kind of want to discuss how, the what, when, and how the things we say here depict many lives of some, many lives of some of the people listening. Or if it doesn't directly hit them, it's probably hitting their mama, probably hitting their sister, probably hitting their daughter, probably hitting somebody they love, more or less. But then it goes on to say, what he says, hit some of the lives of the viewers. Also, why many of us don't want these discussions to take place at all. That's what we're going to be getting into. That's what we're going to be stepping into, because you can already tell from the content that we do when we get to talking about this stuff. A lot of people would be it be pilling up, we'd be ripping off scabs
Oh yeah.
with some of the
Oh yeah.
stuff we be talking about here. So I'll set it up that way. I'll set it up that way. Then I'll pass it on to you to go ahead and lay out your thesis, so to speak, on this topic. So go ahead. You got the floor. You got the mic.
Well, once again, peace, everybody. If you follow me, you already know the kind of things I have a tendency to talk about. And I think we, as well, I'm not going to say all of us, but parts of Black society, we are secret keepers, right? There are a lot of things that happen to a lot of us. We are a people with a lot of problems and dysfunction and deep dark secrets, things that happen to us when we're children, traumatic instances, crises that we go through, whether it be poverty, abuse, molestation, neglect, whatever it is. And I think we as a people, we have a tendency to bury these things. So what does it do? It it teaches us to be a people that bury all things, right?
Yeah.
We will forget or try to forget or pretend to forget about those things in our lives that aren't necessarily comfortable for us to think about, even though we know they exist. Now, I like that you titled it, Are We Talking About Your Mother, Sister, or Daughter? Because let's be honest here. When you say these things about particular women, those women are somebody's mama. They somebody's sister. They're someone's daughter. They may or may not be yours, but they're somebody's. And I'd like to believe that when it comes to when we're on here having these quote unquote uncomfortable conversations, that the people who have the most problem with these conversations are the people who kind of see their lives, their kinfolks' lives, their mama's lives, their daughter's lives, their sister's lives in these conversations. Now, I don't want to put everybody in the same bag, right? Because there's some of us, because me myself, I got some dysfunctional people connected to me, related to me. I mean, as Black people, that's part of the deal, right? That's one thing we all have in common, right? We like to say, oh, Black people aren't a monolith, but that's one thing that we have in common, that we probably only about 3 degrees of separation away from some type of dysfunction of some kind. Because we all got some baby mama in our family. We all got a cousin, brother, nephew that's in and out of jail. We all got, somebody connected to us who ain't worth 2 wooden nickels on fire, right? So, I mean, that's the one thing that kind of connects us. Even though we say we're not a monolith, we all are connected there, where we are not far from dysfunction. It's close to us. Even Black people who are doing well, Black people who are in the upper middle class or even rich or wealthy, got some nephew who own crack. They got some cousin who's in and out of damn jail, right? So when you talk about hit dogs hollering, now some hit dogs have learned not to holler, like I told you earlier. Some hit dogs have learned not to holler, but some of them will. They'll give out a big old "arr." Some will. And I think most of them will. Most of them will holler. And I think that's kind of the problem that we have when we talking about this kind of stuff. Because let's be honest, man. For instance, I'll use myself to start it off, right? I talk about these old mamas pretty often, right? That's my staple place. That's what everybody kind of knows me for. I probably talk about them more than anybody else in this circle of influence. You actually think when I'm talking about these mothers that neglect and abuse and abandon and kill their kids, you think nobody in this damn chat room, you think nobody in this chat room can relate to that? You think nobody in this chat room had an old raggedy mama who used to beat them and abuse them and leave them home by themselves or smoke crack? You think that's nobody on YouTube? You think that when we talk about these mothers, and I often talk about how their mama's boyfriend is up in their room at night touching on them and whatnot, you think that don't apply to nobody in this chat room? Or only the people outside of YouTube this has happened to? It happens. Now, do you expect people to raise their hand up and say, yeah, it happened to me? Of course not. It's the shame. It's the putting it in the back of your mind. It's the keeping of the secrets. It's all part of it. We want to ignore it. We want to deny it. You know why? Because that's what we were taught. That's what we were raised and reared to believe. Don't you tell nobody what's going on in this house. And that is why people get mad when you point out certain things about black society. Because, see, what you're doing is you're telling people what's going on in this house. And people do not like it. They don't like it. Don't you tell nobody what's going on in this house. And we've opened Pandora's box. We've given people a window into not just the dysfunction, the many dysfunctions that exist in certain parts of black society, but we are also giving people a look at the causes and the effects of it at the same time. And I think a lot of people see all of that too, and they don't want to relive it. They don't want to relive the poverty that they lived through when they were a kid. They don't want to relive the abuse, the neglect, the molestation. They don't want to relive the fact that they grew up and mama had a man in and out the house every 3 months. They don't want to remember the fact that they didn't have a father and they know they suffered because of the lack of a father. They don't want to relive that. They don't. And I'm not angry at them because they don't want to relive it. But see, they're forced to relive it if they're listening. Because I also believe that we are people who believe in self-torture. That's why you always got people in your chat room talking about, oh man, this is BS. Oh, you this, you that. They believe in self-torture because they continue to listen, even though they claim it's garbage, even though they claim it's weak, it's whack, it's lame, it's this, it's that. But they're still here. That's another problem we have, right? We always find ourselves somewhere where we claim we don't want to be. And we also have a tendency not to leave places where we are not wanted. It's a crazy conundrum, you know? And I think what media has done is not only has it brought out some of the best of us, right? We've seen some of the best of us. Because I think about you, brother. I mean, you are amongst the best of us when it comes to this YouTube stuff, all right? And I don't say that, you know, just to beat you in the head. That's what I really think of you.
Appreciate it.
But also, it has also exposed what? Some of the worst of us. We've seen some of the worst of us We talk about some of the worst of us. We show videos and we have discussions about it. And one thing about us as a people, man, many of us, we don't want to acknowledge anything about black people that we can't brag about. If it's something we can brag about now, yeah, let's play the trumpets. Let's beat the drums. Let's play the trumpets. But if it's some reality that's not brag worthy, it must be kept secret.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. How some of the stuff we talk about, there are people that hear it. And I've talked to people who have who have heard some of these conversations, and they didn't mind listening to it. They enjoyed some of it, and they conceded the simple point that, yeah, man, some of the stuff that y'all saying is, I hate to say it, but that applies to my mom. I've had that conversation with some people, and some of them had, I guess, what's the difference between the person who can concede that point, understand it, breathe it in, and still be okay afterwards, versus a person who lashes out. And when I say they lash out, they don't lash out in disagreement necessarily. They lash out more so in like you said, they're not going to admit that, oh, that was my mom, or my mom used to do that, or my mom did that to me, or the daughter that I raised turned out to be exactly how y'all describing, or what everything that y'all saying, it applies directly to my sister. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that, but they're also not going to have the maturity to accept, the degrees of truth within it. But instead, they lash out at the mere existence of the conversation. What's the difference between the person who could hear it and accept aspects of it, see what parts of it is true and applies and what parts don't, versus that person who's going to hear it and then just emotional, irrational lash out? How do some people just get on lash out mode versus some people can, that's it, see what y'all saying? What's the difference? And why does it seem like so many black people are just on lash out mode when they hear these type of conversations?
Well, in my opinion, the people who hear it, acknowledge it, and concede the facts, those are the people who have taken ownership of it. These people who lash out and get angry and do all this kind of stuff, they don't want to own it, man. They don't want to own that their mama wasn't worth 2 wooden nickels on fire. They don't want to own the fact that they screwed up in their lives and ruined their children's lives. They don't want to own the fact that maybe their mother, their sister, their daughter, or them may have made some horrible decisions that ended up with horrible outcomes. The people who embrace it, they're taking ownership of it, man. And they are truly free. Yeah, they are the free ones because they have owned it. They've acknowledged it. They've used it. And they've used it to circumnavigate or navigate their life, right? Now, the people who get angry, oh man, y'all always talking bad about black people. Y'all always throwing black people under the bus. First and foremost, if you're talking about these things, the wheels of the bus is already on their chest, right? So you can't throw them further under the bus. They're already under there breathing in diesel exhaust. They're already there. But these people, they don't want to own the failure, especially if the failure is personal. If the failure is them, if the failure is their mother, they don't want to own that failure. What they want to do is circumvent it. All right? They want to pretend that it wasn't a failure. And that has a lot to do with our mothers, right? Because there's this old saying that we always hear, right? Mama did the best she could. No matter how horrible she was, we always say, Mama did the best she could. And often she didn't. She did as little as she could. But we are programmed and trained to say, Mom did the best she could, no matter how bad she treated us, no matter how bad she abused us, no matter how much stuff she allowed to happen to us. It's always going to be, she did the best she could, no matter what. Because we have been programmed to think this way, just like she was programmed to think that way, because she thinks she did the best she could. So, of course, we think that. And we will turn around and apply that to anybody, right, who we kind of see mama in. Whether it be some chick twerking on a table at a restaurant, some woman who got 4 and 5 baby daddies, some woman who smoked crack and let her freaking kid hit the crack pipe. We still apply that she's doing the best she could nonsense to it. Last week, man, and YouTube took my video down when I showed this.
Uh-oh.
I had a clip of a woman, right? And she had her baby in her arm, right? Now, mind you, she's filming this, right? Obviously. She had a blunt, right? And she was pulling on the blunt, and this baby, who couldn't have been no more than 1.5, she was taking the blunt smoke and blowing it into the 1-year-old's mouth. And the reason why I know this baby had to be about 1 year old, because this baby wasn't even talking. This baby was still like goo goo gaga. And what was really disheartening to me is that the baby was leaning over, taking the smoke like it was well practiced, like it had smoked blunts with mom many times before. And like the baby took in the smoke and didn't even cough.
When somebody blows smoke in my face, the baby just took it like a champ. the baby literally, when she saw mama hit the blunt, the baby literally leaned over and opened her mouth for mom to blow the blunt smoke in it. And mom took a big old hit, blew it in the baby's mouth. The baby blew it out and didn't even cough. Didn't even cough. In fact, the baby laughed at it like, me and mom, we smoke blunts all the time, y'all. So when you see this kind of stuff, right, you will still have people defend this woman. Mm-hmm.
It's the whole, because it's like every mother is covered by this, she did the best she could, or she's doing the best she can shield, no matter how horrible she is. No matter how horrible she is. I mean, that's who we are, and I think that is the nucleus of a lot of the problems that we have, because we will turn around and, like I said, we will apply these same standards that we apply to our old mammies as we apply to women we see on social media, our own sisters, our own aunts, our daughters, if need be. Because it's something about the females of our society, certain ones, that for some reason we apply all this oppression and racism and problems and pressure and stress. They're all going through this stuff. So being that they're all going through all of this kind of stuff, they should be given a pass on whatever they're doing, no matter how much they hurt the children, no matter how much they ruin their lives, ruin their sons' lives, their daughters' lives, the men they deal with lives. No matter how bad it is, they are covered by this shield, this invisible bubble, this force field, and we shouldn't say anything about it because, see, there's reasons for it. There's reasons that justify. There's a reason why your mom smoked crack instead of paying the rent. There's
Mm.
reasons why all 5 of y'all got different daddies and 3 of them is brothers. There's reasons. There's reasons for it, y'all. And y'all are not examining the reasons. And you know the reasons always leapfrog over mama and find their way to racism somehow.
Mm-hmm. You got to know the root causes, the historical context, the underlying meaning and reasons for this or reasons for that. Everything but everything but accountability. You touched on something to where it's interesting, and sometimes I don't think about it like this, but a lot of the times, we could be having a conversation. Sometimes it could be a serious conversation, and sometimes we could just be just saying it kind of in a, just kind of just breezing right through it when we say it. But, you don't average into the equation that sometimes it's people be legit reliving trauma. We talk about some of this stuff, and then like the person in the crowd listening, we don't necessarily average into the equation 100%. That person is like we just took them back to that moment, and that's when it manifests itself into them them lashing out at us. But Osama Abdul in the building with a $2 super chat. He says the red pill message has awakened hundreds of millions of men. Absolutely 100%. Absolutely 100%. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. I don't know where we at on the likes, but make sure y'all hit the like button, and make sure if you're not subscribed to brother Xavier, make sure you hit the link right there that RM got in the chat room. He be spitting this fire, these hard to digest truths. He be spitting them all the time on his channel. So make sure you go and subscribe to that, brother. I'm seeing it right there. 222 on the likes, 222. Well, actually 234 right now on the views, 103 on the likes. So make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure y'all hit the like button. But
Yeah, man, hit that damn like button, you lazy Negroes, because if you don't, I will haunt your old black ass mama in her dreams. Do it.
right on. Oh man. Let's talk about it from this perspective. Now, if I understand it right, you've raised daughters, correct?
Yes.
You've raised
Yes.
daughters and sons. So
Yes.
there's a term, I forgot who, but there's a term in this space called they call it daughter niggas. the,
I'm
the
familiar.
people, I figured you was familiar. I'm speaking more so to the audience. For those that don't know, the term daughter niggas refers to somebody who they make a lot of the arguments that they make in these discussions predicated on the fact that they have a daughter, and that clouds their mind and their judgment in certain situations, or it affects their otherwise objective analysis, their otherwise straightforward, hit it right down the center of the plate, truthful analysis. When there's sometimes where they have a blind spot in some of these conversations when it comes to cutting right into the truth, because we're talking about a lot of this stuff, and then a lot of the stuff that we're saying, man, now they got to plug their daughter into that equation. And for some men, and this is where I'm glad I don't have daughters, because I understand why that's difficult. I understand why that's difficult to plug your daughter into these equations. But how much do you think that the men, we'll get into the mamas, the aunties, the sisters? Somebody even mentioned in the chat room, we ain't just talking about mamas, we talking about grandmamas too. You saying them old mamas, and we gonna talk about them
Oh, yeah.
old grandmamas, that the ones that started it all, the Darth Sidious behind the curtain. But anyway, we'll get into that. But let's talk about how guys who have daughters have a hard time grappling with a lot of this stuff that we're talking about, because they got to plug their daughter into that equation. Let's go
Oh,
ahead and step into that one.
it's simple. I'll give you a simple analogy. Um, You're riding down the street, the boulevard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see these people out there walking around like zombies from the Night of the Living Dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see this girl out there, and she's an old nasty crackhead. She looked like she ain't bathed in about 2 months. Her hair's all done up, and she got dried up jizz on the side of her jaw.
Oh.
And you ride by, and you look at her, and you're like, God, look at that old nasty crackhead, right? Now, that old nasty crackhead is what? Somebody mama, somebody daughter, somebody's sister, right? Somebody she didn't hatch out of an egg, right? She came from somewhere. But see, we can put distance between her and ourselves,
We
right?
look at her like she just fell from the sky.
Yeah, right.
That ain't nobody's mama. That ain't nobody's daughter.
Nope.
She
hatched.
She just emerged from the sea or somewhere.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. She hatched out of some egg in the forest, right? But guess what? If it's your daughter who's on crack, it's your daughter who's the drug addict. She's strung out there. She's selling herself. Guess what happens when people see her? They look at her and say, look at that old nasty crackhead. Mm-hmm. But the point I'm making is this. When we have people like that in our family, we try to ascribe different categories to them because, see, they may be a crackhead, but they're not like the other crackheads out there. They may be a hoe, but they're not like the other hoes out there, you know, because they're our mama, they're our sister, they're our daughter, they're our cousin. So, yeah, they may be out there and they got 4 and 5 baby daddies, but see, they different. They're different than the people that we have separate, because it's easy to separate yourself from people that you don't really know and you're not related to, right? It's not that easy when that person who's doing these things is your mama or your sister or your daughter. It's not as easy. You can't disregard their existence like that, right? When you stop at the stoplight and old crackhead's trying to come to your window, it's easy to just roll your window up to keep this crackhead from breathing her penis-laden breath into your car. But if you pull up to that stop sign and that's your daughter walking to your car and she smokes crack, would you just roll your window up? No, because you are connected to this person. And I think that we have a harder time when we are emotionally connected to these people. Even if we know if they are an exact example of the dysfunction that we discuss on these YouTube avenues, we will always try to separate them because we will say, well, they are different from the other ones. They don't smoke as much crack. They don't use as much heroin. Yeah, they got 3 baby daddies too, but you know, they were in a different situation.
They don't smoke as much crack, so there's an acceptable amount of crack that can be smoked.
Yeah, they only smoke crack. They don't smoke crack every day like the other person. They only smoke it 5 days out the week. And you know, she's out there hoeing and selling herself too, but she only do it on Fridays and Saturdays. She's not doing it, you know, every day like the other crackheads. So that's kind of what it is. I mean, because I have daughters and my daughters are adults. And let me tell you something. They've done some stuff that I think is really screwed up. Mm-hmm. All right. I mean, and as a father of girls, I mean, they're going to do things that you think are totally absurd. But see, me, I mean, if my daughters were to get into something really, really ridiculous, I think the onus is on me to not only treat them the same way I would treat somebody else, but also put them under the same standards. Why? Because, see, the fact that you are connected to me should keep you from doing what you're doing. Because, see, you know what I expect. You know what I don't like. You know what I think is unacceptable. So it's even worse for me if it's you smoking crack. It's even worse because you are my daughter, because you are my kid. It's even worse for me because I can't just distance and disassociate from you. I am connected to you. You are connected to me. So I would have to look at you a particular way for the simple fact that you, of all people, you understand what my expectations are.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's deep. And I told this story before. This was the first time where I started looking at it differently, and I started, viewing, the people that you described, the people that are just conducting themselves in an outright problematic, uh, trifling, ratified kind of way. The part where I was able to realize to really, I guess, put a look at the true human element of what was going on there is I remember I was watching watching a video on WorldStar. I don't go to WorldStar that much, but when I do, it's some guilty pleasures in there. You'll find something that you be like, what the hell? And then you may or may not enjoy it. You may or may not. You may wish you hadn't saw what you saw sometimes, but sometimes you could find some enjoyment. But anyway, so I'm on WorldStar Hip Hop. I'm watching what I call one of those though it looked like it's in the projects, some low income housing development little area or whatever. It look like it's in the project somewhere, and it's one of those 10 on 10 weave flying titties out battle royals that them chicks be having. You know what I'm talking about. You've
Yeah.
seen the videos.
Yeah. Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I'm talking about. All right, weave flying titties out battle royal. It While that's happening, I'm sitting there watching the video, and I'm like, every time I'm hearing kids crying in the background,
Mm-hmm.
every single time. And then, like,
Mm-hmm.
it took a while, but it eventually dawned on me that, oh, these women who out here fighting them are their kids
That's right.
crying in the back. That's because I swear I was looking at it just to say the way you described it, like these weren't people daughters, these wasn't people mamas, these were just people who just emerged into existence and was just crazy and ratified and doing what they was doing. But when I finally realized that, wait a minute, these kids I'm hearing crying in the back. If you really listen, sometimes you will hear some mama. You'll hear them say call it, but they mama in a
Mm-hmm.
10 on 10 battle. We flying titties out battle royal, and you hearing kids crying, screaming, mama, mommy in the background. It's like that's when I'm like, oh shit. Like this is shut up, Pablo. Observing the community can be fun. Cut it out. Cut it out. Nothing fun about what I'm describing here, Pablo. This is a tragedy. This is a tragedy.
shout out to brother Pablo.
but that's when I realized, like, damn, like, and that's when it hit me, just how bad it is when people just on some real dysfunctional stuff, and then kids they grow up seeing that. They grow up just desensitized to so much stuff, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, damn. But that was the moment where, like you described, that person, that crackhead tapping on your window is just, you could pull off. That's just a random crackhead. But when you average into the equation that this person probably got a couple kids sitting at home
Mm-hmm.
who gonna see her stagger into the house
Mm-hmm.
looking like she just went to hell and came back.
Reeking
But
of crack. Reeking of crack.
yeah, yeah, man. That's when I realized, like, this is bad out there for some people. And you want to have sympathy for the. I mean, look, the kid didn't choose the world they was born in. You didn't. You don't.
Nope.
The kids unfortunately don't get to choose their parents. So you can have some sympathy for the kids, but them kids grow up and they turn out to be the same damn way sometimes, and then there's the cycle aspect of it. And I think sometimes there's an element of it where it could be genuine when somebody are talking about the reasons why that some people turn out like that. They can, I understand how they could be genuine when they say that, because it's a cycle. But the thing we do as Black people, no matter how somebody turned out, we're going to always default to that cycle, even if this person had every opportunity in the world to choose otherwise.
Yeah.
They chose this dysfunction, but we're going to put that blanket of that excuse over them every single time, and therefore no accountability. No accountability. That's where we pretty much end up at in the community, as they calling it in the chat room.
Yeah. And I see World Free. They say, by the way, it ain't crack no more, TPOT. But
Hey,
what
I'm old school. I call it all crack.
fentanyl, reeking of fentanyl, OxyContin, whatever people are smoking and taking
Yeah,
these
I
days,
remember
brother
like
World
my
Free.
brother told me that fairly recently, and and I mean it was within the last few years. He had told me that crack wasn't really a thing no more. I'm like, oh, people don't do crack? Like what? Oh, I mean, I don't keep up on what drugs they're doing. I remember when the rappers start talking about popping pills. I remember when that happened, where it was a
Mm-hmm.
while when Eminem was the only rapper talking. In the 99, early 2000s, Eminem was the only one talking about popping pills. That was some white boy shit. But now everybody,
Mm-hmm.
now
Everybody
everybody,
doing it.
everybody started popping pills, and then I guess fentanyl came, and I don't know. I don't even know exactly when crack left the game. I think people still do lines of cocaine. I think that's still a thing. I don't keep
Yeah.
up with these drugs. So
Maybe
Al Boogie said
crackers
crack is
ran its
still alive.
course.
All right, I'll take your word.
Yeah, it's ran its course, man. But you make a good point though, right? And when you say you see, all these women, these old mamas fighting on World Star Hip Hop and all these crazy videos that you see, because there's no shortage of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you hear these kids crying in the background. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that those kids crying in the background, at that point, those are the ones there's still some hope for. And I'll tell you why.
Because they
You
crying.
know, the
Yeah.
ones who I don't think there's any hope for, the ones who are out there joining in with mama, fighting. They're right on scene. They're kicking the other woman too, and trying to get licks in, and they're not crying. They're right there with mama, helping mama kick this person while this person's laying on the ground. Those kids, I think they are the ones that are possibly doomed. There's still hope for the ones who are still crying and
Yeah.
afraid and scared. Those are the ones that there may be some hope for them, possibly. The ones that's out there helping mama kick somebody in the head, oh man, they're gone. They are gone because they have become fully acclimated. They are a small little carbon copy prototype of this old weave wearing woman that you see. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they are exactly like her at this stage. And it's nothing to see these children, man, because I do one of these every night. Whenever I do a show, I got this startup of the show that I call the old mama of the day. And I
Mm-hmm.
start the show off showing you some old mama that done either killed the kids, abused the kids, gave the kids dope, left them somewhere by themselves. And I never run out of stories. I never will. I could do this for the next 99 years. I would never run out. And you see these stories of these women who expose their children to so many different things. And you can't help but to feel some degree of sympathy for the children. Because, like you said, they don't get to pick their parents. So you got these children being raised by these people who will put the children's well-being on the back burner, their safety on the back burner, their health on the back burner, their education on the back burner. I mean, they will put all this stuff on the back burner. And you look at some of these videos, man, because I have videos where you got 3 and 4-year-old kids, man, walking around cursing like they in the Navy. 3, 4 years old. But at the same time, we always got to listen to women talk about how they're the most educated, but only about 20% of black children read, write, and count on grade level by the 4th grade. And I think it drops by the time they get to the 8th grade. So how come we got all these women who are so educated, but they got the dumbest kids? It doesn't make any real logical sense. It doesn't. Because those numbers have not changed. In fact, they have dropped due to the whole pandemic thing. I had read an article last week, and it says there's been a 9% drop, all right, in math and reading scores between 2020 and 2022. And the people with the biggest declines amongst black and Hispanic students. They said it was the first time that math scores have dipped that much since 1973. Almost 50 years. Kids are dumber than ever. Dumber than ever.
Yeah, that's wild. I'm looking at the chat. Well, speaking of you mentioned the kid who joins in on the fight with Mama. I remember me and Hood Conservative was at covered a video. Well, I blame him. He dug it up, found it, and put it out there. But basically, a kid. Somebody mentioned this. I think I don't know if they was alluding to the same video, but somebody said it'd be kids going to grab the gun while Mama is fighting, and it's an actual story. I think the mama was fighting. The kid went and grabbed the gun and shot the person. You know, why the mama was fighting. It shot the other
I
person.
remember.
Shot her twice. You know,
I was here.
Never mind the fact that I don't even think I'm good enough shot if 2 people rolling around fighting that I'm gonna shoot twice into a ball of a fight and hit the and hit the right target twice. I don't even know if I'm that good of a shot. I know how that 9-year-old was that good of a shot. I don't know. Maybe had a lot of practice, but that's difficult to do, to hit moving targets while they fighting. You know, but anyway, so it in some situations is that damn bad out there. It's that damn bad out there, and I get blown away by some of that. You know, I didn't see that. I didn't see that kind of I didn't see that kind of craziness. You know, I ain't gonna sit here and make it seem like everything was perfect. I didn't grow up in Pleasantville or nothing, but it wasn't that wild for me growing up. It wasn't. So yeah, I do got some sympathy for the kids. But damn, man, it's bad. It's all bad out there. But
Because of what they're facing. What they're facing, man. I mean, what they're exposed to, man, what they're around. Because I say again, if you're out there fighting and going on and your kids is in there in the middle of the fight, I mean, because all those things are relative, right? You think a woman who is out there with her 5-year-old and she fighting some other woman and the 5-year-old is involved in the fight too, do you think that's a woman who's actually sitting home teaching that boy colors and numbers and ABCs and how to count to 10 and helping him with his homework? You think that's that kind of she's out there fighting in the middle of the street with her 4-year-old baby kicking the woman in the head too, but once they go back home, she becomes Claire Huxtable. She becomes Florida Evans. She becomes Harriet. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Whew. Going circling back to the topic, because it's like right what I got put in the title. Is the Manosphere talking about your mama, your sister, or your daughter? Um, I gotta pull up this video, really for old time's sake. That guy who cried out and said, "You're talking about our mothers."
Oh God, here we go.
we got just based off title alone, we gotta pull this out. Hold on.
That we're showing to the world the last 15 years. I still love you because I'm you. I'm just not going to do what you do. There's some of us in the middle, and you know what? I love my sisters. I love my mother, her nappy hair, her big lips, because it's mine. Stop tearing down our fucking people. You don't understand. I'm a high school teacher. Everybody in the world sees us as fucking buffoons. Stop. Yeah, they beautiful over in Colombia, but it's some ugly motherfuckers too, and you know it. You know it. Be in the middle. Travel the world. Do it, please. Open your mind, brother. Please. But stop telling everybody that everything is better over there. They hate your ass just like they hate you over here.
I'm not gay no more.
Hold on.
Yeah, you're going to get some pussy because that's the image. And speak the language fluently. That's how big the game is. Be careful, young black men. This is not just as easy as, oh, they just want you. Oh, yeah, you're going to get some pussy because that's the image that we portray. That's the image we portray. We going to get some pussy and that's it. You're going to spend your money and you're going to marry them and you're going to get them out of poverty. The same thing you can do here for your own black people. Same thing you could do.
Period.
And I'm going to stop right there because you know what? This is not to go down on my black brothers. I'm going to be honest with you because I'm a black man from Chicago. And even though I'm one of the righteous ones, I'm still a black man and I cannot unmarry myself from the ridiculousness that we're showing to the world the last 15 years. I still love you because I'm you. I'm just not going to do what you do. There's some of us in the middle. And you know what? I love my sisters. I love my mother, her nappy hair, her big lips, because it's mine. Stop tearing down our fucking people.
All right. I had to.
There it is.
I had to bring that one up for old time's sake. We had to circle back to that one. Back to that one because
he answered the question of the show title, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did he say? My mother, my sister. I mean, that's what it is, right? That's the crux of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
People get up here, and like I said, these are people that I believe have not taken ownership of this. Because, see, you have to own something to control it, right? You can't control something that you yourself do not own, right? If there's a car parked in front of my house, I can't move it unless it's my car, right? But if it's my car, I can jump in it. I can pull it into my driveway. I can go down the street with it. And what it is, a lot of people, they got their car, it's parked in front of the street, man, and it's not theirs. They haven't taken ownership of it. So guess what? They will always say this kind of stuff. Because, see, I think a lot of people, black people, a lot of people are walking around here with this. They talk about all this slavery trauma and all this other kind of nonsense, but they always leave out the trauma that they had during their childhood. They always leave out the trauma that they went through as a young guy, a teenager, a toddler. They leave out that trauma, right? And a lot of that trauma is inflicted by who? Grandma, mama, your older sister. And guess what? I think a lot of us feel guilt about some of our daughters. Because I know I would feel guilt about my daughter if my daughter was out there hoeing and she was one of them crackheads just walking around, knocking on people's car windows at the stoplight, trying to get a hit. I would be ashamed because, see, guess what? I have failed her to some degree if she walking around out there smoking crack, all right, and on her knees for a hit. I had to have failed to some degree, especially if she's young, right? Now we can say, because a lot of people say, well, you're an adult now, you need to get over it, all this kind of stuff. You need to get past it. But if a person is young, they're not that far removed from their parent, especially if they're 19, 20, 21. They're only about 3-4 years off from their parents, right? They were with their parents up until they were 17, 18. So if they 20, guess what? They walk out into the world with some degree of influence from their parents. I don't care what you say. You can talk about TV and internet and YouTube and TikTok and Twitter and Instagram all you want. But a 19-year-old girl, when she's out there doing what she's doing, she has absorbed some influence from the house. All right? Some of it's from the house, if not all of it. Some of it has come from the house, and there is some failing there to a degree. And I think that's the problem. We don't want to talk about the failure of our mothers, our sisters, our daughters. We don't want to talk about how the failure of these people affects us. So the best thing for us to do is to ignore it, pretend it doesn't exist. And it's hard to do when you got a grown man hour. It's hard to do when you got a TPOT. It's hard to do when you got an Obsidian. It's hard to do when you got an Angry Man. It's hard to do when you got a Kevin Samuels. It's hard to do when you got a little Big Nate. I can go on and on and on and on and on. It's hard to do, especially if you're one of these people who are addicted to watching people you claim you don't like. Because there's people watching you right now who will swear up and down, oh, I hate Bernard stuff. But somehow they're subscribed to your channel and they know everything you said for the past 8 months. But when they on their channel, oh man, Bernard's a sucker. Bernard's a chump. I hate Bernard. He hates you so much that he watch you every day. Isn't that something? I guess it's for research purposes. I don't know.
Well, yeah, some people watch YouTube channels so they can have something to hate on later. I mean, that's the thing. They gotta
But they're still a fan. If they're watching you all the time, I don't care how much they say they hate you. They are still a fan. Actually, what I call them are fans perpetrated as haters.
Yeah. Yep. Let's. Oh wow! I hate Bernard Gomes because they black. That's that Bernie Mac. Yeah, good one. All right. Let's go ahead and look at it. Let's step into it from this direction because we normally, because we talk about with Manosphere, a lot of people get triggered by it because like I said, we're talking about their mamas, talking about their sisters, talking about their daughters. The person who get let off the hook a lot in these conversations, person that get let off the hook a lot, even because we get accused of letting the dad off the hook, but no, the deadbeat no good dads, they catch it over here too. But I think the person who get let off the hook the most in these conversations be that old grandmama. She really Granny always get let off the hook in these conversations. We normally don't go back that far when we talk about what's going on. The whole term, she get it from her mama. It'd be old grandmamas, behind the scenes. I call them Darth Sidious, who really started it all and stirred a pot for a lot of this stuff. let's dive on into there to where it's even deeper than we striking a nerve talking about some people mamas, sisters, and daughters. We talking what about the grandmamas?
Well, I think a lot of times, depending on what generation you're from, if you're a Gen Xer and you think about your grandmother that's kind of where most decent grandmothers ended, right? Because I think of my grandmothers, they were decent old ladies. You know, both of my grandmothers were married to my grandfathers and all that kind of stuff. I think after that generation, all right, which was, I think that was like the silent generation. Yeah, that would have been like the silent generations. Um, those boomer grandmamas, I think that's where the ridiculousness start to seep in, right? Um, because that was during the time of, you know, civil rights legislation and all this other kind of stuff came into play. And especially when you talk about black folk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Black people were, quote unquote, you know, more liberated, if you will. And, you know, you have all this other stuff coming in, you know, the social policies, the welfare state, you know, all that stuff combined. So what happened is, I think that was kind of the start of a lot of the things that we see now. I mean, because we're looking at the results of some of this stuff, right? And guess what? I mean, nowadays, grandmas are 30, all right? I mean, I couldn't imagine having a 30-year-old grandmother, right? Grandmas are 30 now. You know why? She had her baby when she was 14.
Mm-hmm.
Her daughter's 15. She got a baby. So grandmas are 30. I think it was better when grandma was 60. All right. Mine is social media, because now they're 60 years old and they still showing their ass and all some kind of foolishness too. But I think now with the way things are going now, and grandparents being younger than ever, because I'm a young grandparent. All right. I'm in my 50s, man. I have a 15-year-old granddaughter. All right. I'm only 35 years older, like 35 years older than my granddaughter, because I had my kids when I was young. But I mean, man, there's grandparents out there, man, that are 40, 35. I mean, my grandparents were old people when I was a kid. All right. They were old people. You didn't see, I couldn't imagine seeing my grandmother on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram. But guess what? If you're a teenager now, guess what? You might see your grandmama on Facebook. You might see your grandmama on Instagram.
That sounds far fetched, but reality is, damn, what's that chick name? Black chick. What's their name? Amara La Negra? No, that name sound right? Did I say that right? Y'all know who I'm talking about. What's the name of the chick? I just botched her name. Dark skinned chick, you know, real sexy. I'm trying to watch the chat. I'm bringing her up because her and her daughter. I saw her and her daughter on Instagram, like twerking together, and her daughter looked just like her. And so, and the daughter. So if the daughter is, you know, grown, over 18, you know, old enough. Well, I mean, you don't got to be that old to twerk on on social media, but but, but the daughter is basically grown, and the mama looked like I don't know, she might be Amara La Negra. Okay, I know who I'm talking about. So she might be around 40, daughter might be around 20. So the daughter is, you know, baby having age. So oh no, not Bernice Burgos. Thank you. Who's Amara La Negra? I'm getting people mixed up. I don't keep up with these folks. Thank you. Everybody know who I'm talking about though. But anyway, everybody's down. Wow, y'all good. Okay. So the point that I'm making is she's sitting there twerking, her daughter twerking with her. The daughter is child having age, so it's not that far fetched. That yes,
Yeah.
it'd be grandmamas on TikTok twerking. All
Yeah.
it takes is to be in your late 30s, really. In some
Yeah.
cases, mid 30s. I mean, you did the math how it could be early, you know, how it could be early 30s, but technically, you know, I think if you just run the averages, you know, you run the averages, yeah, late 30s to 40s, really. Late 30s, early 40s. They still twerking. They still twerking. They be on TikTok. They be on the gram. They be on there doing the damn thing. And their daughters be having pages too. and they click up, link up, and do it together. Now, once soon as that daughter have a baby, then yes, then this woman just became a TikTok twerking granny. Like that's a thing. Like that's
it's real.
actually
It's
a
real.
thing. So,
Because think about it, right? When you talk about, and shout out to brother Sir Tyson, brother Maurice for the cash apps. How the hell am I getting cash apps on Bernard's show? I appreciate it though, brothers.
No, that's where it's at. That's what's up. Sir Tice sent me one as well, and Sir Tice sent me one when I was off the air. He sent me one off the air for a show that he missed that he caught after it was after it was uploaded, and he sent me a nice sizable cash app. So shout out to Sir Tice supporting the stream, and shout out to everybody who's supporting X. Yeah, don't let X get up here and be working for free. Hit him on the cash app. Hit him on the cash app too.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, brothers. I do, man. I appreciate that shit, my brothers.
All day. So yeah, shout out to Sir Tice. But yeah, damn, what was I saying? I got lost that fast.
Well, let me say this. When we talk about mama, daughter, granddaughter, right? You're talking about 3 generations of people, right? Now, a grandmother can easily be 45 and have a teenage grandchild. Because if she has a baby at 15, she gets 30, her daughter's 15, right? By the time her daughter has a baby at 15, by the time she's 45, guess what? She's 45, she's grandma, the daughter's 30, she's the daughter, and the other daughter, the granddaughter, is 15. So they 45, 30, and 15, right? And grandma is still dressing the way the 15-year-old is. And of course, the 30-year-old is still dressing the way the 15-year-old is. Absolutely. She's not even just dressing like her daughter. She's listening to the same music and eyeballing the same men. So grandma is encroaching now because grandma trying to listen to the same music. Grandma trying to get at the same men. So you got 3 generations of women, 45-year-old grandma, 30-year-old daughter, 15-year-old granddaughter, all doing the same thing, right? Because there's only 15 years between all those people. 15 years. They all listening to Lil Wayne and Nicki Minaj. They all wearing booty choker shorts. They all on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Together. They all roll up into a party dressed alike. That alone is an image of not only dysfunction, but also delusion. Because I don't want to be anywhere where my grandchildren are unless it's something I'm throwing. A barbecue, a family reunion. Why would I be hanging out the same places that my teenage grandkids hang out? Or my children, for that matter. You think I want to be places where my sons be? You think I want to be around the same people they are around? Absolutely not. But you have these generations of people who are at the same places. You know why? Because they're all close in age. When we were coming up, we weren't close in age to our grandparents.
Yeah.
Our grandparents? Even if we were only 16, 17, 18, 19 years from our parents, guess what? Our grandparents was like 40 years older than us, right?
Yeah.
That's gone now, man. That's gone. You're talking about a grandparent who is separated from their grandchild by 20 years, 25 years. That's the separation between them and their grandkid. And technically a generation is what? 25 years, right? That's what they say a generation is, 25 years. So guess what? They're only separated by 24, 25 years. Technically, they're all inside the same generation, right? No wonder they all dress alike. No wonder they all listen to the same music. No wonder they all do the same things. No wonder they like the same kind of men, wear the same kind of shoes. I mean, they're all wrapped up around like the same generation, especially if grandma had her when she was 14. And by the time she's 28, this girl done had a baby when she's 14. I mean, there's not a lot of time in between all of that. There's not a lot of growth in between it. And see, the problem with the whole talking about mother, sister, daughter thing is that many of us, I will say again, we are not that far removed from it, man. A lot of us know our mama was old hoe. Come on, man. You think hoes just got invented 10 years ago? They've always been here, just like the sun, moon, and stars. They've always existed. And some of us, maybe not most of us, but some of us, we are a product of our mother's whoredom. We are. You think none of them whores ever got pregnant and had babies? You think that never happened? Some of us are products of our mother's whoredom. A lot of us, we don't know who our fathers are because of our mother's whoredom. We have no idea who our father is. You know why? Because she doesn't. If she doesn't know who our father is, how the hell would we? Unless we're connected to him telekinetically or something. How would we know who he is if mom don't know? And guess what? Some of our mothers themselves are products of whoredom. They're products of whoredom. They don't know who their father is. Because guess what? Grandma didn't know who granddaddy was. So when you talk about these things and you have these conversations around certain people, you start telling the story of their lives. And it's tough, right? Because I'll say again, I'll use myself again. Whenever I have a show, Brother Bernard, and the show is specifically targeted at these old mamas. Do you know, every time I do one of those shows, Brother Bernard, I get 3 and 4 emails where brothers write me and they say, X-Man, I listened to you last night and I cried, brother, because you described my childhood like you were living in our house. You described our childhood like you had cameras set up in there as we grew. You described my childhood, man, like I had sat down and laid on a psychology couch telling you this stuff. I get those emails every single time I do a show. Because this stuff is real. All right? It's real. And people know it's real. But they always wanna subscribe it to oh, you hate your mother. You hate black women. You hate yourself. As if any of that has anything to do with what we talk about. Or as if any of that disqualifies anything that we're saying. Okay, say I do hate my mama. Okay. Say I do hate myself. Say I do hate black women. So what? Does it make what I'm saying less true? Because I hate all these people. I hate my mama. I hate my sisters. I hate myself. I hate black folk. So I guess because I hate all this stuff, what I'm saying isn't true. The brothers who write me, though, would beg to differ. Because like I said, I have had brothers write me many, many times and tell me, X, the things you say, brother, that shit hit home with me, brother. I listened to you and I cried. So that alone will keep me doing it. Because, see, these uncomfortable conversations, and I'm a true believer in that, I think they are the best ones to have. They're the best ones to have, Brother Bernard.
Mm-hmm.
Because what they do is they open your mind. You know, the old TPOT call sign.
Mm-hmm.
Open your mind. That's what they do, man. They make us think about things, not only things that we don't want to think about, but also things that we have buried,
Mm-hmm.
things we've forgotten.
Amari Antiquity is saying, I'm just reading the comment there. Paternity fraud against black men is 41% according to BGS. Shout out to him. I did a stream on that and I had a really hard time finding definitive data on that. I did hear BGS say that, but in the video that I heard him say it, he didn't exactly, at least not in that particular video. I don't think he presented definitive data, but BGS is pretty good at mining for data. So if you have a video where he did, present the data, share a link where he found that number from, I would like it if you share it with me. You could drop it in the chat room, but chances are I'll miss it if you really want me to see it, and I'll probably do some content on it. Send it to my email. Send it to my email. I would appreciate that. I would appreciate that, because when I did content on that, it was hard to find anything conclusive. It was all over the place. Like the so-called experts, when it came to them giving the answer, they were so vague and flaky and iffy on their answers. It made me believe that they knew, they just didn't want to say it. If they gave an official number, it would be pandemonium. That's what I came to the conclusion of. It would be utter. It'll be an uprising if they found out, if men actually knew where that number was actually at for real. But no, BGS, if the data is out there and you know where I can find it, send it to me. But Charles Merchant in the building with the $10 super chat. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody who supported the stream. Appreciate everybody who supports the stream. Charles Merchant in the building. I put the link in the chat too if anybody want to come up and join this conversation. And of course, your super chats will be read, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it, especially if you got a particular question or just a comment through the super chat. You know what to do. You know what to do. But Charles Merchant in the building with the $10 super chat says, how many sons watched Mama on the carousel with the hood dude, the football coach, the black Muslim, her second cousin, her high school homie, etc. Man, is I look at it. I look at it like this. Like I said, my mom was cool. My mom was cool. I didn't have those moments. Like I put it like this. I can name 3 men in my life that my mom, was around or that she had around us, and 2 of them she married. It was only one that she had in front of us that they didn't make it to that point because something happened, and then we never saw them again. But so my mom was cool in that regard. But I remember my brother was telling me about one of his friends, and his friend, oh man, I don't know if my brother was speculating or if he was telling me directly what one of his friends told him, or maybe he was speculating. I'm not 100% sure, but I think one of his friends, have experienced that, walking in, coming home, teenager, come home, a little later, or whenever you come home and you catching your mom on the couch with a dude, it's like some people walk in on that with your mama, with an unidentifiable person, just like some, like that I can't even imagine how that just fucks the head up of somebody walking in, just seeing a different dude in there, and especially if you just come home and you're hearing them, or worse come to worse, seeing you walk in and see them getting it in. It's like, that just got to be the worst thing on earth. I can't even imagine that shit.
Yeah. I mean, and it's bad enough the first time, right? But what happens when the kid gets used to it, like it's normal, where they just walk in and don't even pay it any mind because they've seen it so many times and heard it so many times that now it's just normal. I think that's even worse, right? When
Yeah.
it happens, consistently to the point where it just becomes part of the kid's normal, every day, every night routine, where he's used to seeing these strange men at the house. He's used to hearing mama getting a back blown out in the room. He's used to the smell of a crack in the house. And, I mean, I think that's even worse, once the kid becomes accustomed to it, because when you think about, like, your mother, your grandmother, your aunts, right? These are the adults, they're responsible for you and all that kind of stuff. You rely on them to cook for you and, do your laundry and take care of you, especially if you're growing up in a house without a father, right? So who is it usually up there? It's grandma, it's mama, it's auntie, right? These are the people who are responsible for you. So you look up to them, right? You look up to them, and you see these people that you look up to doing this stuff that many times you don't really understand. You don't understand when you walk in there and mom's snorting cocaine. You don't understand when you walk in there and there's some guy in there all over mama, and it was another guy all over mama 3 months ago. You don't really understand that, right? I mean, you can't really kind of comprehend, especially if you're a younger kid. If you're like a teenager, that's different. But if you're 6, 7, 8 years old, you don't understand why it's a different man in the house with mama every 3 months. You don't understand walking in there and mama's popping pills and drinking and snorting cocaine, or you definitely don't understand if she's leaving you by yourself. You're 10 years old and she's got you watching the 8-year-old, the 6-year-old, the 4-year-old, and 2-year-old for the weekend. I mean, these are the things that you're forced to deal with these things at a very, very young age, and you don't even understand them. They're just kind of thrown at you. They're kind of put on your plate, and you just have to kind of eat them, even though you have no idea what they are. And I think that kind of, it plays on a child's psyche, and it messes with their development. It
Yeah.
impacts their development because they're being exposed to things that, they don't even understand. They have no grip on.
Yeah. Yeah. The Mac the Trucker in the building with a $5 super chat. He says, let's not forget the mothers and daughters that get knocked. Do you mean knocked up or just smashed? Get knocked by the same dude because the mama is in competition. Because mama is in competition mode. It happens. Yes, I do understand that that's a thing, that mothers get in competition mode with the daughter, and that sort of speaks to what X was talking about when he said the close proximity of the age. If that daughter, if it's just a 15-year difference, okay, the daughter 15, the mama 30, maybe not that big of a deal. But when it get to the point that daughter, 17, and that what the mama 32, you know 18, 33, 20, she 20 and the mama 35, or she 19 the mama 34. Yeah, they yeah, they in the market for the same dudes at that point. It just is what it is. So yeah, that's I've heard people talk about that, and I haven't seen that one exactly personally, but they said I mean, well, Tommy Sotomayor talked about that, and he said he's talked to a lot of women. They said, they had to leave the house early because their mama started treating them some type of way when they got to the point to where they started developing and whatnot. They started developing and whatnot, and the mama started getting jealous, you know, of I guess the attention that the daughter was getting and all of that. And so yeah, so that's a whole nother ball of wax right there. But the Mac the Trucker in the building says, wait, no, not the. Okay, I thought I clicked on. I already read the Mac the Trucker. I'm sorry, I'm getting sleepy on y'all. Malcolm JC in the building says, youngin here trying to navigate the new world. This high key sad. Absolutely. But you got it. You can handle it. But all right. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. Shout out to Sir Tice. Definitely appreciate Sir Tice. Sir Tice hit me with a cash app when I was off the air. I appreciated that. Said that stream was fire. But shout out to Sir Tice. Do appreciate you hopping
Yeah,
up
you
on the
made
panel
another
and
comment
supporting the
when I went
stream. You
bungee
got it.
jumping too. You made another comment when I went bungee jumping too. You know, but
Oh
we won't get
yeah.
that.
Yeah, Sir Tice went bungee jumping. I don't know if it was just me. I don't know if I was seeing things, but it looked like when he jumped off, I saw like a little stream, and like I think he pissed on himself on the way down.
Yeah.
It was like a little stream coming up. It was like a little stream just floating up into the air. Yeah, I think he pissed
Yeah.
himself on the way down.
Yeah, you know, it was more scary walking up to it than actually doing the jump, you know. But I can only say a short time. Shout out to you, brother Kev. Your commentary on that show, I guess it was Saturday or Sunday. Saturday was pretty fire too. I thought I saw Hood also. Zave, long time no hear. What you said triggered something. I could only say something short, but I remember this book called Black Players. It was written by two white people who invaded the pimp underworld of San Francisco in the late 60s, early 70s. I believe Tariq Nasheed bought the rights of this book, what had, right? But when you were talking about how the mother is smashing and the kids, in view of the kids, one of the conclusions of the book said, and it kind of shocked me how I'm drawing this parallel, but one of the conclusions in the book was that the reason why a lot of Black men have more, how do you say, can pimp better, if you will, is because they've had an early exposure to sex. Okay. And when because they were hearing it next door, or or the walls were thin, so what those weird sounds was as a kid, they already exposed to it at 6 and 7. So just imagine that as a kid when they're doing it right in front of you. Now, I read a comment by Little Big Nate that is hard for me to believe. He says he's going to do something on his show tonight where the mother is asking to do it in front of the kids. Now, if we've gone that far, hell, we living in true Sodom in Gomorrah right now. But I was just reading a comment there, but it's all connected, man. I think you gave some great examples, because a lot of the people what was the old school term we used to use, or that when we were coming up, I should say, it was they fast and all that, so you see them 14 and 15, that's damn near normal nowadays, or a 15-year differential, between a parents and a kid. Maybe it's not normal, but it's not something that nobody on the panel or in the chat has ever seen.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm trying. I got lost trying to find that comment where Nate said something about.
Here, I think I can find it.
Yeah,
Nate just changed his profile. I see.
Yeah, I'm low key trying to find that one. I damn near missed the last part of what you said, because I was like, I
gotta talk about just the age. That it's not uncommon. So I found it. I found Nate's comment. That's not how modern women are getting down. Come to my show tonight. I'm gonna show you a vid with a dude saying chicks want to have sex in front of their children. I'm not kidding. Watch the show tonight. That's what Lil Big Nate said.
Like they legit want the kids to watch.
Yeah, I don't know what level of sick you have to be on that, but there's no way you can rationalize this.
That would actually be some form of abuse, by the way. That would be like CPS action.
Yeah, that's child abuse.
Yeah, to the highest degree.
Absolutely,
child abuse to the highest degree. Yeah,
but I wanted to get Zave's thoughts. I wanted to get Zave's thoughts on what I said though about that early exposure to sex, and if he saw.
Yeah. Oh no, go ahead. I forgot it. That was the part at the beginning. I forgot about it. You said something interesting. I think it was about the early exposure to sex, whether hearing it or walking in, seeing it. How you said that somebody who investigated the whole pimp game said that Black men can more easily do it because of their early exposure. Like that was a little startling.
That was literally one of their conclusions. And these are professional sociologists too, not just observers.
Yeah. What's your thoughts
And
on that,
another
X?
one second. And since they were white, it means fact, right?
Oh yeah, of course, of course.
Oh yeah, it's the white man.
That gives it a little bit more
It's
credibility. But
it's the white man's data.
We know,
But
we know we can believe in them.
oh yeah, it's the white man. It's the white man's data. And even if you do, right, if you don't really believe it, just take it with not a grain of salt, a salt mine. Y'all know what the salt mine is, right? Where they go in the cave and they dig the gray salt off the wall and they have to put it on the truck and take it to the processing plant to turn it white. Just take it with a salt mine, take it with a salt mine. But
yeah, I try not to believe everything they say, but I mean, I do give it consideration and then look into it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but there's some there is some truth to that, right? Because I look at many of these studies, right? And children who are exposed to sexual conduct and sexual activity at an early age have a tendency to be more promiscuous, less inhibited. Now, this is a fact. Y'all can look this stuff up. This ain't me talking. This is all the crap I've read talking. And I think it works both ways for boys and girls. So I'm not surprised with what Brother Satice is saying.
Hold on, X. I'm stepping away for a quick second. You got it. You got it.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that that study says that, Brother Satice, because I know when it comes to females, and I'm talking about when young kids are touched and molested when they're young, they have a tendency to be more promiscuous as teenagers. They're more likely to end up knocked up. These children who have these things happen to them when they're younger, they're more likely to do it to other people as they get older, do it to other children. Because what I think has happened, over the course of many, many years in society is that everything has become kind of static, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things that go on now and barely make us blink were unheard of if you go back 40 years ago, 50 years ago. I mean, it was shameful for a 13-year-old girl to end up pregnant some damn where, right?
You from New York, so you from
yes.
New York. I'm from Michigan, so it
yes.
was they would send them down south.
Yes,
Good.
They would take them, send them down south. They would have them have the baby, and if they did decide to bring them back up, the mother would claim that baby was hers. Mm-hmm. So this child was 12, 13 having this baby. That new baby was treated as one of her siblings, not her child. And she just kind of went along with it because we've always kept the secrets, right? We've always kept the secrets. So they would bring that child back up, and the parents just kind of raised that kid as one of their siblings, and you didn't find out that was your mama, all right, until you was grown, right? I know that's how I always saw it when I was coming up. But I'm an old Negro, so a lot of years have passed between now and then. But it was just different, and the way women are nowadays is so much different than it was, say, 45 years ago. I mean, the things you see women doing now, you would have never saw 40 years ago.
Yeah,
a lot of it.
Do you think it's more different, or do you think because there's vehicles of expression now that we didn't have before, that it was always there, or they did it behind closed doors back in the day?
All of the above, Brother Satice. All of the above. A lot of stuff. I mean, with the rise of media, I mean, we're getting to look through a window of not only self-expression, but a lot of dysfunction, because we're seeing things on media that you would have never seen, man, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. You have people, man, on media. You have women, they will beat their children on media.
And get called good mothers. They get called good mothers for doing it.
Yep. They will do some of the most sexually explicit stuff you've ever seen on media. So a lot of the things that you never would have seen, because these things were done in the attic and in the basement and in the crevices, of their homes, is right out in front of you now. It's all over the place. It's on the TikToks, the Facebooks, you know, the Instagrams, the Twitters, the YouTubes. It's all over it now. Some of this stuff you would have never seen if you go back 4 decades. You think you would see some a 50-year-old woman on Facebook with her butt cheeks hanging out, dancing and twerking and popping it like she's 20?
I said, could you imagine your Mahalia Jackson listening grandmother at your graduation twerking?
Yeah. Dropping it like it's hot. Up in there, she 55 years old. She dropping it like it's hot. You think you would have saw that, man, 40 years ago? Absolutely not. So I think it's a combination of all the things you said, Brother Sir Tice. You know, more self-expression, more avenues and vehicles to express yourself, and a lot of stuff that used to be done, you know, in closed doors is now right out in front. You know, it's front and center now. So that's where we are, and I don't think there's any turning back. I know we get up here and we always talk about, oh, this is what we need to do to fix the community. Man, get the hell out of here. People come up here and they talk all this solution crap. Okay, fine. Say all 4 of us get up here and just give you an hour's worth of solutions. Is all 300 people in this chat room going to go out today or tomorrow or next week and do any of the things that we said up here? We'll be lucky if we get 2 of them to do it out of the 300. So when people talk to, oh man, y'all don't talk about solutions, y'all don't talk about this, that. What difference does it make? Because guess what? There were people who came 40, 50 years before us who talked all kinds of solutions.
No,
they talked all kind of social stuff.
The reason the whole, well, what about the solutions? You know, the reason that discussion don't even make it out the the starting blocks is because we can't even get people to even agree on what the problem is, let alone the solution.
Exactly. Exactly.
We start explaining we start explaining what the problem is, and they want to fight us on what the problem is.
Bernie,
yeah.
So we can't even skip to solution.
Bernie, you know, it's not even that serious. That's just more shut up talking about it.
I know.
Yeah. Don't mention it. Don't talk about it.
Paul Game said it right when you said it. Solution means just shut up. That's really what that means. And the thing I always point out, we give solutions. Yeah, people just don't like them.
Nope.
It would cause for them to have to change. And so they don't like, or even if it's not just holding themselves accountable, it would cause for them to hold the people or the persons that they want to make excuses for. It would call for them to hold them accountable, and they don't want to have to do that. So they want some huge top-down solution coming from on high or the government or something that, you know, that it has to. They want to push the solution out so far that you know it'll just keep the clock running on the dysfunction. They so that way that train can just keep driving. You know, that's why they want to push the solution all the way out in Wakanda somewhere. So, so they can just keep the clock running.
because the solution, they want the solution to not include the problem, the nucleus of the problem. They don't want that to include. See, the solution is fix white people. Make white people less racist. Make the government less racist. Make other people just accept our BS. Because see, our BS is our black stuff, right? BS doesn't stand for bullshit. It stands for black stuff. So just let the world accept our BS. That's the solution, and make the world look at our BS differently. Because see, if we really wanted solutions, when it comes down to it, some people in parts of black society have to change. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're not going to get some of these things different unless some black people change. And that's the part they don't want to hear.
Can I say briefly, because I got a bail? Okay.
Real quick, Sir Tice. Real quick, Sir Tice. What Kevin C sent the Cash App. I do appreciate that, Kevin C. Thank you. Appreciate you always coming. You said. I think it said for covering important topics. I try to cover some important topics. Big Poke Dog in the building says you still got that full metal jacket piece. Yeah, I quit playing that, man. The passport bros like that one too much. When I used to play this little drop every time somebody dropped a $10 super chat. The passport bros liked it too much. I had to quit playing it.
What do we get for $10? Everything you want. Everything? Everything. You.
That was their anthem right there. They loved that one.
I missed that one, man.
Shout out to Big Poke Dog. And shout out to Trina B in the building. She says, in the South, you were married if you got into trouble. I mean, if you got somebody got somebody pregnant, or somebody got pregnant.
Basically, the shotgun wedding concept.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. Yeah, most women were married by 18 or earlier. Yeah, that was a thing. It was de facto arranged marriages back in the day in the South, and there was the element of, if you got pregnant, that was the deal. That was the deal. But the culture changed. We talk a lot about that, how that change in the culture around that time. The free love movement, second wave of feminism. That's when they got rid of the social shame and criticism of, people can do what, they wanted to do what they want when they wanted to do it. And a lot of men, bought into that too. Whereas, it used to be more couple and pairing up, but then, that free love movement, that was the original slut walk. It was just a lot of free unearned pussy out in the market, and a lot of people, a lot of dudes became looters in that pussy riot, and it was everything. We in a post-apocalyptic aftermath of that shit. all the baby mama and baby daddyism that was created from that, coming out of the 60s going into the early 70s, that led to the dysfunctional shit we saw in the 80s, which ultimately led to what we got right now. So there's that. That was the start of it. But go ahead. Was that Kevin? No, that was Sir Tice.
I was going to go before Kev because I'm about to leave.
Okay, cool.
To Zay's point about the solution, this is a theory. I haven't really flushed this out, but this is what I think. I think one reason why they bring that up is that they know that the solutions are going to be too varied. But more importantly, it's sort of like having 2 strikes in the 3 strikes era or whatever. They know that once those solutions are addressed, the gig is up. Whereas right now, it's like still lawlessness. There's no accountability for the actions or anything like that. They can, do whatever they want. And when I say they, I don't mean just the women. I mean, the dudes who on the messed up path too. So it's like they say that, but it's sort of like, how do I best say it? You overweight and your trainer tells you, hey, it's time to get in shape. You know that you can't be eating that shit, that you were eating before to get right, but you still want to eat that. So you just still do it. So that's just my thoughts on it. Thanks for letting me up, Bernie.
Peace, Sir Tice. Peace. No doubt. The door's always open. Door's always open for you. But all right. Getting back into it. Oh, Kevin C, I think you were trying to jump in on a point or two.
Yeah. I was going to let you guys talk and then just wait until you guys kind of got to me, because I wanted to. I actually tried to put it in the chat initially, but for some reason my computer sometimes doesn't accept super chat, so it won't go through. But that's why. That's why I like the what you call it, the Cash App. I just hit you guys with a Cash App. But good topic, good information. Thanks for bringing me up, and good conversation between you and Teapot Media there, and then the other people on the panel and throughout the chat. One of the things I like to say as it relates to this is this is as a result of because you're talking about are you talking about your mother, sister, or daughter? Mm-hmm. And when you ask that question, I always immediately go to, well, no, not my
not my mama. I've done that. I've done that twice already. When you talking about my mama, not mine.
Yeah. Well, but then it goes to a couple of things though. So my mother's deceased, so obviously that she didn't. We're not gonna cover that. But my daughters, and then my wife, and then I have a current wife, then I have an ex-wife, and even with all of that, still those are not I don't think about them in terms of all the issues and problems as it relates, because basically I look at it like this: a man has been there, me primarily, to check all of that. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if men are there in place to actually keep all this under control, then you have a fewer and fewer issues as it relates to that. And one of the issues, I think you guys were talking about the solutions, being so nebulous that it doesn't really come down at the lower level. Well, the first level of accountability and supervision is really that man in the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
The husband, the father, and that's going to keep, generally, unless you have an uncooperative wife, your wife in line because she respects you. And then, your daughter's in line because they respect you as the father and the leader of that household. And of course, that applies to your sons too. So it all trickles down. And so when you talk about that, one of the biggest issues that we have is just that manly presence that's missing in a lot of households. That's what I kind of point that to. So when people go talk about, other things like white supremacy, racism, what the government is doing, what other races are doing, it's all nebulous. And yeah, some of that is a factor, but everything starts right there at what I refer to as the supervisor level. So husband, father, you're the supervisor in that home. So you're not gonna, if you have a daughter, you're not gonna, and especially a wife, obviously, you're not gonna let your wife be all over, TikTok or social media or Facebook, with the behind out, twerking all over the place, acting a fool, all on top of tables, on top of cars, doing the stuff that we see. It's just not going to happen. So that's what it kind of points to. And that's one of the things I want to kind of mention and just emphasize, because more often than not, men wouldn't allow this to happen. And if you still, we're going to defy your father, especially as a young teenager or young adult woman, then he's been like, hey, look, if you're not going to listen to my rules, then you got to get out of my house. Same thing with your wife. If she's going to go against you as to, because when a woman marries you, she's agreeing to your leadership. She's agreeing to, follow your plan, consistent with, it's not a dictatorship. It's, she has input, obviously, as far as how the household is run and where you guys want to go in life in the direction of, your guys' future. But at the same time, what she's essentially agreeing to is to follow your plan. And when you don't even do that or don't want to do that, then you're out here as a woman operating on your own. And remember, we got a lot of women with kids out here. So basically, you got a loose confederation of single women, single mothers, and then children, and not a lot of men. So this is what would actually, preclude and eliminate a lot of these issues and problems. So when you guys are talking about the solutions, yeah, it gets kind of nebulous. Government, some other person or some nebulous organization that really doesn't have accountability at what I refer to as the family level or supervisor level. Right? Does that make sense?
Oh no, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's something we talk about a lot here. And granted, there are some conversations that are worth having about the government and policy and all of that, like that matters. Yeah. But a lot of times, some people give that too much precedence over people, making the right choices, making changes in their lives, doing, controlling the things that they can control,
at their level, right?
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
Like I like how you call it the supervisor.
The supervisor level. That's what.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
When people say parenting, I always say, because I'm a military guy or ex-military guy, so I always think of it as first. So if you're the father, you're the first line supervisor, right? So and you're the one checking all the behavior, and you either allow it to happen or not allowing it to happen. And I bring this up because I have a son, right? 3 daughters, 1 son, wife, all that other stuff. But I've been talking to my son lately about relationships. When he was younger, I didn't talk about it as much. But as he got older and older, and now he's starting to get closer and closer to the range where he's going to be looking for a wife eventually. But the thing is, and when we have these conversations, I always try to remind him, he sees what's out here. Just like every other young man of marriageable age, somewhere I like to say between, some guys get married early, 22 to 24, but if you're not married in that age range, and I always recommend somewhere between 28 to 32, you find a wife, make the kids you're going to make, settle down and all the other stuff and everything else. So that way you can move on with your life. And then you're not a 68-year-old man trying to raise teenagers. So I point out to him, I say, hey, I know you see issues and problems, but remember, you have sisters, you have a mother, and, you see that I'm remarried, and you don't see that behavior or that negativity in the women that that I'm dealing with or your sisters. So what I'm trying to emphasize to him is that, hey, there are other men out here doing the exact same thing. So just try to link up.
Time out, Kevin. See, Little Big Nate, you can execute Order 66 on the individual in the chat room. I don't even know who that is, but it looked like they talking more shit than what I'm willing to tolerate. It's up to you. You can execute Order 66 on them if you want. But go ahead, Kevin. See.
Oh, okay, yeah, I wasn't even looking at the chat. Yeah. So, and I try to remind him that there are good women out here still, even though he's seeing some the buffoonery and the bad behavior and some things that he would not accept in a wife, and definitely I don't want in our family. So, and I try to relate that and say, hey, remember your sisters aren't out here doing all that crazy stuff. They aren't single mothers all over the place. They aren't twerking all over the place. No, not having sex with a bunch of men everywhere and just basically if you run down the list of things that would make you undesirable as a woman, they're not doing that. So I try to relate it and say, look, there's other guys, men who are married, who are raising daughters, who are doing similarly to what it is I did or tried to do to create respectable, productive women and citizens, so that way you don't have these issues and problems. But a lot of these guys are seeing the issues and problems, and for whatever reason, and I'll say one of them is because of lack of married families and lack of fathers in the homes, that we're having a lot of these things play out. You guys mentioned all the stuff about people going down south. There was the reason that happened was that there was some level of a shame associated with producing children out of wedlock, and especially one might have been okay, and then that would have been the only one, and then you would never see that again. But I saw something on somebody else's channel, and I think you operate with Little Big Nate on a regular basis, right? And I think he had something on his channel where there was a woman, 7 kids, and she was pregnant with her 8th child, visibly pregnant. Like, what are we supposed to do with that? What, when you have young men out here looking for wives, they can't, and these men have never been married. They're not they're childless. They're literally moving forward in their life, on their life's mission and purpose, but they're not creating problems, and they're good, productive citizens. And this is what they have to pick from. Then what are men supposed to do with that? You see what I'm saying? Like how are we supposed to, weed out the women in the process, and then actually create families when you have women out here, creating families on their own with not even families. I would just say it's a loose confederation of women with kids and just kids everywhere. And for a lot of reasons within our group specifically, we have way too much of that. So that's how you get the guys going outside of the race, or the guys, going overseas, getting other women, or just not even trying to participate at all. That's where you get the Sigma males from too, by the way. So there's fallout from all of this.
Yep. Kenneth Williams in the building with a $5 super chat. Appreciate that. We got the Black Merlin in the building. The Black Merlin in here with a $5 super chat. Do appreciate it. Charles Merchant in the building with the $10 super chat. He said the bums begging for solutions will never come to the conclusion that their choices are the problem. That goes back to what I said. They talking about solutions. We can't even agree on what excuse me. We can't even get them to understand, agree, or accept what the problem is. So yeah. Pablo, you're the second person told me the link isn't working. I wonder, I don't know what's going on with that. I'll try to copy and paste it again and see what happens. I'll give it another shot. Right there. It's fresh in the chat room right there. So I don't know what to deal with that is. I don't know what to deal with that is at all. But yeah, we got 300 people in here. I have no idea where we at on the likes, but make sure y'all hit the like button. Appreciate everybody in the building, everybody who has liked the stream, even your hate watchers who won't like it. You're giving me your views. You're giving me the views, so I appreciate you too. Hit
the like from the clouds, Negroes. We know you're in the clouds. Go ahead, make the likes match the viewers, man. Come on.
You can stay in the clouds. Just dip out just dip your hand out the clouds and just boop, push the like button and
Yep.
go, then ascend back into the clouds. But no,
So on that last super chat, Bernard, that actually, so that the gentleman has a point, but the problem is that any woman's problem is actually by default our problem or black men's problem, because those issues, whatever problems come out of her choices, always gets transferred to the men. You know, I've heard a lot of this, and you'll actually, you know, and I don't go on these women's channels too much. There's only a select few that I pop up on, and you know, I do like to, you know, come up and share, you know, a little bit what I'm thinking on your channel, so I appreciate that.
Mhm.
But you know, you'll have women who say, "Well, men are the leaders, and black men particularly are the leaders of the community." And then when you ask them, though, "Well, show me your leader," you ain't got one.
yeah. Listen, the whole the men are the leaders. They only say that and acknowledge that when they're trying to absolve themselves from responsibility or accountability for what they've done or what women in general are doing or not doing. Because and you know that it's bullshit when they say, well,
Yeah.
men are supposed to be the leaders, and then when we start talking about relationships and women submitting in the relationship, then they got all this pushback and argument about them submitting. But then in another breath, well, y'all are supposed to be the leaders. Okay, so then why do y'all just abhor the idea, the notion of submitting to a man or following the lead of a man or listening to a man or anything involving you in a position where the man has some say over you? So that's, I mean, it goes directly back to your question that you asked. Okay, men are supposed to be the leaders. Okay, show me your leader, or who are you currently following right now? Show me a man that you're following. Okay, if you can't do that, you're more than likely gaslighting.
You
You're
know,
more than
it
likely
seems
gaslighting.
so. You said the word submission several times, right? But it seems that I don't know, women just have a problem with that. Or I'm not gonna say all women. I'll just say, you know, some women have a problem with that, and I don't even look at it as much as submission. I look at it as more like cooperation. You know, you guys know, I know you guys follow the NFL. Mike Tomlin has a quote that I love: "We don't want hostages. We only take volunteers." Right.
Mhm.
So if a woman isn't volunteering to be a part of what it is you're doing in your life, and then trying to build with you and move forward, where it comes to building families, a future, generational wealth, and all the stuff that they love to talk about, then we're not going to force you to do that. Because why would I, you know, go, you know, this is not the caveman days where we go find a woman that we go, that I want. And then we club you over the head, we drag you back to our cave, and then we make you do what we want you to do. No, it's, you see what it is we're doing as men. You have the decision to look at us and go, you know what? I need that guy as my husband. I need that guy as the father to my children, because he's on his purpose. He's on his life. He's doing his life work. And you know what? He's an excellent candidate, and I choose him. And now I got to figure out a way to make sure that guy sees enough of potential and worth in me to make me his wife and father and mother to his children. Like, that's how women need to be thinking about that. That's how men think about it when we're looking for a wife, right?
You said a key word, though, that they don't register with, and that word is need.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You're right.
Explain
You're
what you
right.
mean. Hold on. Explain what you
register
mean,
with
Pablo.
need.
Go ahead, Pablo. I want to hear you explain that.
Women in this day and age do not register with need. They only register with want. So, and there's a big difference in because we live in a country that is so wealthy and so affluent.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give you an example of how wealthy and affluent the country is that you live in. And you've been in the military, so you may understand this. We live in a country so wealthy that a group of women just made the news here in Atlanta for going into department stores and stealing men's underwear and driving away in a Mercedes. Let me repeat that. They made the news because they had a ring of women, a group of Black American women who were going around to this one particular department store and stealing men's Nike underwear. And they had it was a thing going. They hit about 10 or 15 of these stores and they drove away in a Mercedes Benz. So
Yeah, I saw that, and I was trying to figure out what the heck they were doing. What was the point of all of that?
So the point of all that is that it's not about, they didn't need to do that. They want to do that.
Yeah, and if they had a father or a husband, you think he'd be allow? He think he would allow that? And if they didn't cooperate with his, his basically his directives and guidance,
They don't want that direction.
Kevin,
Don't
see
want
the problem, the thing we run into with that one, because you say if they had a father there or this or that or blah blah blah. I mean, you're right, and in
Yeah.
this space, we've done a lot where we've criticized the women's choices and who they, who they have kids with. And we get criticized for that.
Yeah, yeah.
The response to that is, "Are you just mad because you ain't getting no pussy from her?" But what you're saying is accurate, because if we can agree that outcomes are better when fathers are in the lives, and we can agree that some men are cut out for that job and some men are not, and if we can also generally agree that they know who has good dad qualities and who don't, then we got to then come to the conclusion that they don't give a fuck.
You have women who don't want that at all.
Yeah,
because that's what leadership looks like. A man literally holding you accountable, and not just the young men and young women and the young women, girls, and the boys and the young men. It's going to be the wife too. You're not going to let your wife get out of control either. Some of the things that I see women do, especially, and even some married women do, I can't fathom it, because I don't even see how my wife could even think to behave in a way that would dishonor me in public or even in private, but primarily in public. Like every time she walks out the door, she represents us, the family. She represents me very well. She's elegant, classy, sophisticated, intelligent, very responsible. I don't really have to, you see what I'm saying? It's just, and she's doing that because she wants to, because she understands that she represents herself, but she's representing her, the family, me, and everybody else, to include her father.
Yeah,
it's just a lot. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I'm not saying you have an outlier, but in the context of this modern, feminist-driven, extremely entitled culture that we live in, she is an outlier. Because most women would say, "Well, why you gotta listen to him? If I want to walk out this way, I can walk out that way. He can't tell me what to do." That's the general tenor of the majority of women in this culture. And one of the things I came to talk about was the passport bros. We're on the cutting edge of what you're talking about today, because a lot of the pushback that we receive, and the clip that Bernard played at the very beginning of this show was a guy who had an emotional response to a group of men who just simply said, "You know what? We'll pass. We're going to go over here and try our luck." And that was his emotional response, to cry and say, there are mothers, my mother. He didn't want us to leave his mama.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I saw that clip. Yeah, that's an interesting clip. I get what that guy's trying to do, and he's genuine and sincere in his honesty and vulnerability. But at the same time, there's no accountability on the woman's part.
Right. No. It's just like, well, you can behave however you like. I can go to this restaurant, right, and order and be given terrible service, be given a meal that's unpalatable, unedible, and you want me to leave the restaurant. And by the way, when I leave the restaurant, you don't want me to say to tell my friends, "Hey man, don't go to that restaurant. It's terrible service over there." I gotta leave the restaurant in silence. I can't say nothing.
Yeah, and don't mention another restaurant, a few miles down the road that has good service. Don't mention that.
Right. Don't say that. Just go. Yeah.
Well, I think there's a misnomer, right? Because you often hear the tale of, where's the leadership, men supposed to lead, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't really believe, from what I've seen in my time on this earth, and definitely on here, I don't believe people actually want leadership. What I think people want is validation and protection. Validation for the ridiculous mess that they think is normal or quote unquote part of blackness or black culture, and also protection from criticism.
Yep. I've
I
been
don't.
stealing that line from you ever since I heard you say it. But yep,
No,
that's
it's
what they
fine.
want. That's what they want.
It's not trademarked. It's not
Right,
trademarked.
right. But that's what they want protection from. They want protection from criticism.
From criticism.
Yeah.
That's what they want protection from, man. And I'll say again, when you talking about what's going on in Black society, especially when it goes to like, women, we see, right. Brother Pablo was just talking about the dudes like, oh, this is my mother, this is my sister, my whatever. It's one thing for the women to react a certain way, but it's something else when the men react a certain way, right? Because, there's a lot of us brothers who grew up, and we watched our old mama get old and be by herself, walking through Walmart with a crooked wig on. And, we grew up and we watched that. And as a kid, we watched her have men back and forth in her life and all this kind of stuff. And I think there is a bit of resentment against other men because, we wish somebody had came in there and married our old black ass mama and maybe took us out of poverty. We wish our father had married our old black ass mama. Maybe we wouldn't have had to eat roaches, for 12 years. So there's gotta be some type of resentment there for people who grew up in those type of situations where, mama's always been alone. Mama's been alone, soon as, the breasts start to droop and the ass start to sag. Mama's been alone. There was no one there. No one came in there and saved old mama. All right? No one came in there and married our mama. How come nobody wanted my mama? My mama was good enough for men's. But somehow mama just ended up alone. And she's alone now. No one wanted mama. And when they wanted her for the rest of the night, not the rest of their lives. And I think people kind of carry some of that. Now, of course, we'll never admit it because, we don't want to speak of these things. But I think there is something there where people have grown up in these households that were zero fathers, zero men to kind of help bring these children along and raise these children. I think in some of those households, especially where brothers grew up, there is some resentment that no one wanted mama, that mama wasn't good enough to get a husband, that mama could never attract someone who might have came in and made a difference, not only in her life, but ultimately in their lives as well. And I think a lot of brothers carry that around with them. I think a lot of brothers carry that around with them. Of course, you got these young girls that have grown up inside these houses, and they watch the things that their mothers did. A lot of them mimicked it, did the same thing. They had babies when they were 14 and 15 and 16, just like their mama, right? Because this is the thing, right? And I say this a lot, right? If you had good parents and you turned out to be a good person, your parents probably had a lot to do with it. But if you had good parents and you came out to be a horrible person, your parents probably had very little to do with it. Just like if you had horrible parents and you became a horrible person, your parents probably had a lot to do with it. But if you had horrible parents and you grew up to be a decent, good person, your parents probably had very little to do with it. So you have all these kind of scenarios, man, within black society, right? And nothing's foolproof, right? Because there's a lot of people who grew up in a nuclear family and they still grew up to rob liquor stores and carjack and knock old ladies in the head in the subway, right? And likewise, you got people who grew up with a crack fiend, a heroin addict mama, and they grew up and became a scientist, a doctor. You have those outliers. But for the most part, the people who raise you have ultimate influence on how you turn out. I don't care what you say, especially as you coming out as a young adult. You know, things kind of change and fluctuate as you get older. You know, you have a few kids, you may get married, grow up, whatever the case may be. I mean, it fluctuates. But when you're a young person first leaving that house, man, the only thing you're really leaving with is the tools that the people who raised your black ass gave you. All that other stuff comes later. It all comes along later as you live life. And I think that's the problem, because a lot of us, we're not just products of our environment, man. We're products of the people who raised us, or products of the lack of raising. And I think the lack of raising has a lot to do with it, man. I did a story a few weeks back, right? This OG, 73 years old, his name was James Lambert, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was beaten to death on the side of the road with traffic cones by a bunch of kids. And the oldest kid out there was 14. You had kids out there that were 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. They beat this OG to death with a traffic cone. Now, you trying to tell me that those kids who did that to this OG live in a decent house? You trying to tell me that their home life isn't total and utter chaos? Oh, you mean all those little kids who beat that OG to death, when they go home to Florida Evans? Claire Huxtable's in there with an apron on? No. The reason why they're doing this crap is because they're taking out the frustrations from the abuse, the neglect, the hunger, the poverty. That's where it's all coming from. Every one of those kids probably lives in a house of horrors. And guess what? They did it 2:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. It wasn't 12 in the afternoon or 4 in the afternoon.
Yeah,
the fact that you got, yes, the fact that they're out 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning speaks volumes of what their parental situation is like. They being raised by mommy, grandma, and auntie. Ain't no father raising them kids. And guess what? 4 of them was boys, but guess what? 3 of them were girls.
Yeah. I mean, you're right, man. My daughter asked me the other day.
Real quick, hold your thought real quick, Kevin. See, sodomy and chicken in the building says, does anyone know the name of the crying dude? I need to find him and clown him. See, I have no desire to clown him, even though when I play the clip, it's funny every time. I have no desire to really just find him and clown him. If I ever did, I would want to talk to him and just ask him, questions, just to get his thought process. I would like to try to psychoanalyze the emotional reaction like that to brothers traveling or having some criticism of black women or whatever the hell, I would like to just uncover. I would like to, to scratch beneath the surface of that. That's all I want to do. I'm not interested in just clowning them just for the sake of clowning them, other than when I just play the clip. If I just play the clip, then yeah, we're gonna laugh. But if I got a chance to talk to him, I would have some questions. But I have no idea where to find him. He was just a random dude who hopped on a random panel. The panel of the person he hopped on is somebody whose name I'm not going to say because I don't. Anyway, he said, I need to find him and clown him. That clip is hilarious. Dude was funny and bitch made at the same time. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. It says Bernard is in the business of saving lives.
Well, you're saving the lives of the people who's listening to you.
Nah, I hope so. But go ahead. You were fixing to say something.
Well, yeah. I think it was Tipa who was talking about this. Like, so my daughter asked about going to a party the other day, and I said, okay, so from when to when, and then I asked her about how long she was, because it started at 6, and I said, okay, so about 10 o'clock, 10:30, no later than 11. And really, and when we went to go pick her up, it was about 10 o'clock. or just a little bit after. My whole thing is that you're not going to let, because young women out here running around unsupervised and loose is a danger to themselves. Right? Not a danger to themselves, but just generally in danger. So, she was at a place that was supervised, but the first thing I asked her was there going to be even parents at the party, because I didn't really want to go. But you see what I'm saying? Like I'm thinking safety all the time. Just how can I always be looking out for her? Are there going to be parents at the party? Yes. Okay. You there with your friends? Yeah, that's fine too. And then, I'm going to come get you at a certain time, or your mother and I, one of us is going to come get you at a certain time, so that way you're not out there too late. So it's just little things like that. Like, I can guarantee you just what Teapot was talking about. Those kids don't have that. It's structure, it's discipline, it's focus, it's supervision, it's level of concern. And it's just people need to know that they're cared about, and at the very least your parents care about you, and your mother. And for a lot of these kids, it just seems like if you're out running around 2:30 in the morning, you got to question, where is that mother and what is she doing? Has she even seen that kid in the last 2 or 3 days, or is the mother even in the life at all? And what's the father, and what are these people doing? Like, again, we could talk about all the racism, white supremacy, and this, that, and the third, but everything starts with your parenting at home. I don't know how to get around that, because you can't blame anybody else if you're not correct on your side. You got to get all your stuff straight and then start looking outside for any other external issues that are coming at you. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Shout out to everybody in the building. The link is in the chat if anybody else want to come up and get a piece of this. I know the link was having some problems earlier. It wasn't working. So I'm gonna put it in the chat one more time. We may wrap this one up. Well, I normally do 3 hours. We may cut this one a little shorter. We may cut this one a little shorter, but the link is in the chat if anybody else want to come on up.
Well, no one wants to come up because this is a very uncomfortable conversation. Because it sucks, right? I mean, to hear people talk about horrible, subpar mothers, sisters, or daughters, because many of us have them. Many of us had a horrible mama. Many of us have these sisters who own dope and they hoes, and some of our daughters are hoes and in jail and got 4 and 5 baby daddies. Like, I mean, when you have these kind of conversations, right? Of course, they're very uncomfortable. Of course they are. And I think often what happens with some of us is that we don't believe in leaving the quote unquote comfort zone, right? We like to be in the comfort zone because when you think about it, right? Let's just think about black people on the whole, right? I think somewhere between 60 and 70 of us as black people, we never leave a 50 square mile radius of where we were born at. So you're talking about only 30% of black people ever come out of that quote unquote 50 square mile bubble. So we're not known for leaving our quote unquote comfort zone, whether it be mentally, physically, or emotionally. So when you're talking about this kind of stuff, it takes you out of your comfort zone, because the reason why people don't want you talking about this kind of stuff on here is because, see, they don't talk about this stuff at home. You think people can actually bring, man, I talk about this all the time when we talk about kids get in touch when they little, right? And you go to the family reunion, right? At the family reunion, this guy who used to do this to these kids, he's there too, because usually he's someone that's related to them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So he's at the family reunion. And these kids who he molested 20 years ago that are now adults, they walk around and pretend like nothing ever happened. And guess what? The parents of those kids that he molested 20 years ago also walk around and pretend like nothing's happened, that nothing has happened. And also, so does he. So you got the perpetrator walking around pretending like nothing ever happened, the victims walking around pretending like nothing ever happened, and the mother of the victims are also pretending like nothing ever happened. So these conversations never make their way into the quote unquote mainstream of the family. They don't talk about this kind of stuff at the reunion. They don't talk about this kind of stuff at the barbecue, at the cookout, at Thanksgiving dinner. They're not going to discuss it. Everybody's going to sit around and deny it silently, as if denying it makes it seem like it never ever happened. Because if you got this kind of crap that went on in your family 10, 20, 30 years ago, go in there and bring it up and see what happens. Go in there and start talking about this creep that used to touch on kids 20 years ago. They'll want to throw you out of the cookout, not him, even if he's there. They'll want to throw you out, not him. Because, see, you talking about it is somehow worse than the offense, somehow. That's kind of where we are, unfortunately. You talking about this degenerate act is way worse than the person who committed the degenerate act. That's kind of how a lot of us think, all right? And it causes a lot of problems because, see, if we were to bring this stuff out, if we were a people who built a culture of putting this stuff out front, if we were a people who built a culture of believing these children and putting these children in front of all this mess, we could avoid a lot of it. We could stop it in its tracks. We could nip it literally in the bud. We could do it. Because, see, what happens, especially when it comes to these women and these children getting touched on, see, what often happens is when they come up and tell mama, the first thing mama does is deny it or accuse the kid of lying. Why? Because this is mama's boyfriend. This is mama's boyfriend. That man ain't doing nothing to you. He ain't touching you. You lying, right? You lying. Why does she do that? Because she's putting her own selfish needs in front of the child's well-being. She can't afford to acknowledge it because, see, if she acknowledges it, now she has to do something about it. She can't acknowledge it and let him continue to live there. She can't acknowledge it and still sleep with him. She can't acknowledge it and let him continue to be in the house where the children are. So the only default setting is to deny it, pretend it's not happening, and some of these people go as far as blaming the child. Blaming the child for it. They go that far.
Yeah, man. Yeah, good stuff, deep stuff. If you're new here, subscribe. Now, a truism. I'm not gonna lie, man. The little blackface man is bothering me. So what the hell?
Apologies for that. Usually when I come, I like to come in. What you gonna do? Guys, that's kind of like my thing.
Yeah,
but if it does offend, if it offends, I apologize. I will take it down.
Yeah, you can.
I do apologize.
You can go ahead, but either way, what's going on? What you got on this?
A great man said, these old mamas.
Brother Truism, what's good with it, man?
What's going on, X? What's going on? Shout out to you, Bernie. Shout out from me. Oh wow. Did you see it in the chat? I just come up here and in 5 seconds, I'm already getting this reaction. It's crazy. Anyway.
What happened? What happened in the chat?
Like I'm talking about in the private chat. I'm like, yeesh. Okay. Anyway.
Oh no, well that was typed. We're gonna get to that, but that was typed in the private chat before you were even speaking. So I don't know who he's referring to, but go ahead and just say whatever you came up to say, and then we'll ask him. We'll ask him.
Yeah.
That comment in the private.
But I've been listening to this off and on, and X is 100% correct. Sadly, yeah. It's the black man. You have a problem with what the black manosphere is saying? You have a problem with what any black manosphere or any black man who isn't even a part of the manosphere, if he gives any kind of critique to what black females do, and you feel offended, I believe the saying goes, if you throw a rock into a bunch of dogs and the one that goes, yup, that's the motherfucker that got hit.
Mm-hmm.
You feel some kind of way about it. You may want to do a little bit of I don't know, looking at do what Michael Jackson says, start looking at the man in the mirror. You might want to start asking him to change his ways.
And
man, no message could have been any clearer.
You hit that high pitched Michael Jackson note a little too good. I just want to throw that out there. I'm just saying, it was kind of on point. It was kind of on point.
I do all right. Shout out to you for that one song you had your first episode when you did this. I forget. I know you know what I'm talking about. Shame I didn't record that because that song was fire. But the song I think it was one of your first earlier live streams when you had Obsidian on with you when you first started doing that. I think you may be hard for you to remember, but yeah, that one was pretty. I don't know what the name of the song was, but that
intro.
Was
you talking about the intro I used to have?
No, was it an intro? It might have been, or it might have been just the first time you were just maybe just figuring it out. That one song you had on that one time, like you way back your first one. I like that. Really like.
I can remember what you're talking about. You just tell me the context in which I played the song. Was it the song at the beginning of the show or something that I played during the show?
It was in the beginning of the show.
Okay, that was either a Aloe Black song. I used to play
No, not that one. Not that one. Okay. Before that,
it was a it was a number. It was one at one point. It was a Kanye West song. At one point, it was a John Legend song. It was
about the one that said about the hand on the stove, John. So
that's Kanye.
Oh, that was him.
That's a Kanye West song. I mean, it was an ensemble cast because he had a lot of singers. There wasn't even no rapping on the song. Kanye West actually sang on a part of that song, but most of it was other people on there. And yeah, that song is the shit. That song is the shit.
I thought that was you. I thought it was you doing that off of whatever. I thought you just had a birth of creativity and you just decided to just, I don't know, get something off on your soul, brother. I didn't know what it was.
No. That wasn't me. That was a Kanye West song. But all right, cool.
No, yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
Okay, cool. No, but that song is the shit though. That song is the shit. But Golden Eye Jack, I'm very curious. You said, man, fuck this nigga in the private chat. Who is the nigga who you are sending that exploited the foul language to?
Okay, my question is necessarily right. Not the guy that I just spoke, but the guy I spoke earlier, right? That I wanted to ask two questions before I clarify. So my question is necessarily, is the topic of the discussion, right, talking about is the women and the people in people's family, are they necessarily the people we talking about in the manosphere? And then I wanted to ask the necessary for clarification. I'm asking for clarification before I actually say what I mean. But what was the guy was talking about necessarily kids being touched? Like what was his necessarily his viewpoint on that necessarily? What I mean by that is who fault it is necessarily, or what is he trying to push with that? I'm trying to figure out.
All right, let me try to navigate through this minefield. I'm not trying to push anything. What I'm talking about is there are a significant number of children who are molested in Black society. I think to the tune of about 60 to 65% when you combine boys and girls. And this usually happens before they are 16. 75% of the time, it is someone right within that child's circle of influence, meaning uncle, grandfather, mama's boyfriend, someone that the mother knows. So when you talk about fault,
Or a
the
lot of
reason why
times it could be, you know, older siblings or cousins,
older
you
siblings,
know.
yep, it's
Yeah, 'cause
always
that's
somebody.
one thing I
Yeah.
found in the data. A lot of
Oh
times
yeah.
is you know,
75% of the time.
yeah, like an 8-year-old with an 11-year-old. You know, the kid
Oh
is
yeah.
older to where it's, you know, a problem, but a lot of times it's kid on kid. It's not always,
Yep.
you know, grown ass hairy uncle touching a 6-year-old. It's not.
Oh yeah, not all the
Yeah.
time. Not all the time. It's someone within the child circle of influence 75% of the time, and out of that 75% of the time, 70% of the time, it's usually someone that is affiliated with the mother. Either one of the mother's friends, mother's boyfriend, stepdaddy, somewhere in that. I know. I read the stats. I do the stuff all the time. I've been talking about it since 2015.
Right.
So I know what I'm talking about. Now, as far as blame, the reason why I say there is a significant amount of blame on the mothers, because a majority of the time, and majority being anything over 50%, it's usually in a household with a child that does not have access to their father. That is just a statistical fact.
Okay. Because I understand. I wanted to get some clarification. But as to what the topic said, I'm gonna go ahead and erase what I said on the private check. I
Keep it up there.
I misheard that.
Keep it up there,
So
brother. My feelings aren't hurt by profanity. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not hurt.
Yeah.
You keep it right on up there. Feel free.
But like me currently right now, I'm in Uganda. Like I used to live in the U.S. I came over here and started living for like 6 months, and I'm doing pretty fucking good right now. And the reality is, when it comes to what is it like to the tune of the topic that's on the screen today, yeah, you pretty much talk about most of the folk in your goddamn family. Because when you talk about the out of wedlock rate, if you're talking about the nasty and the foul attitude, you talking about the overweightness and whatever you want to go, what the list of issues that American men necessarily that we say that we have an issue with. Yeah, most of the women in your family usually reflect that. And that's for me necessarily, for me personally. I came to the realization I'm gonna have to cut most of the people in my family the fuck off. And I had to do that because for me, because I understood at the end of the day, if I want to prosper, if I want to be the man that I want to be and see the world that I want to see and shape that world that I want to be in, I'm gonna have to cut off most of my family, and I had to do that. I mean, because I got cousins necessarily overweight, talk the most shit, fat, loud, disrespectful to her husband. I don't fuck with it. I got the quote unquote the matriarchal necessarily females in my family. When I mean I had to cut them off, and I had to do it without, how am I gonna say this, ruthlessly. I did it ruthlessly because at the end of the day, I understand where I'm trying to go to in life. But the problem is, what I'm seeing with a lot of these dudes, at least in the manosphere in itself, a lot of these dudes they ain't Thanos enough to do what it needs to be done. They have more of the concept of what is it? They got a Captain America complex. Oh, I'm gonna save everybody, and and everybody gonna be okay. Fuck that.
Hold on, whoa. You said in the manosphere, you hear that?
Yeah, I hear it a lot necessarily in the manosphere.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Wait, hold on, wait. Are you sure you understand what a manosphere channel is versus like what's a pro black save the community channel? Do you like? I don't think you know the difference between the two.
Nah, trust me. I've been in the manosphere for almost 10 years, man. I've been here before you got here. I've been here since BTS been here. I've been in here. I've been in the manosphere necessarily since it began on blog radio.
Okay,
and,
so all right, cool. Gotcha.
Ago.
So how are the people who call out the bullshit and don't sweep it under the rug and don't hide it and talk about it for the ugly truthful, the ugly harsh truth of it, to the point to where your immediate response when you heard brother Xavier talking was, man, fuck this nigga. So like
I recanted that.
Wait. Time out. It don't matter if you recanted it. That was your raw reaction to it. So the fact of the matter is, how can the people that are the harshest critics of it are also the ones that you kind of would try to depict as having a cape on to try to save it. I mean, we see the problem for what it is, and we call out the bullshit. So I'm just trying to get how do you connect those dots? I mean, I know the save the community channels, and those are the ones that try to sweep everything under the rug, and they say go ahead and just wipe up these single mothers, and go ahead and just dive on the grenade. Like, I don't hear dive on the grenade on Black Manosphere channels. I hear them accurately breaking down what the problem is, why it went wrong, and what Black men in general are generally up against in this environment. That's what I hear on Black Manosphere channel. I don't hear dive on the grenade.
Yeah, it depends on what subject you bringing up. Now, let's say like when was the other guy who spoke. I can't really see his name right now because it's kind of small. But when basically he was saying, "Oh man, we know the person that's in the family." Man, the people like that necessarily that's in the family, reason situations like this fester that they fester unnecessarily is because there is not enough raw. I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna say tell it how it is and do what is needed to be ruthless people in the family, or enough men in the family that have that I don't give a damn ish about it in the family. You don't have that many people in that family who are that way. Most people in your family are kind of pussyfoot. They're gonna let that shit slide necessarily. That's why
you implicate. I know, but you implicated the Manosphere in it. But if Manosphere does anything, it don't pussyfoot around the harsh issues. So I want to know how can you implicate the Manosphere in the dive on the grenade, save the community at all costs people.
Okay, now there's the two different things between save the community at all costs people. Now, people who say save the community at all costs are people who are already mentally lost to me. Because if you say at all costs, that means if the house is burning down, going to spend 30 minutes into the house. If you say quote unquote necessarily that the house is already flooded, it's already 20 feet underwater necessarily. Those people are a little bit those are like extremists to the degree in my mind, how I view them. Now, if you ask a lot of people in the manosphere necessarily, because I've been here for a long time, to go into their own family and break up them kind of subjects, most of them people can't. Just like I'm telling you, I've talked to a lot of these dudes like on personal personal time necessarily. A lot of these dudes ain't got that kind of heart, even in the manosphere, because necessarily I'm telling you, I don't see people in the manosphere having that level of heart to do that.
But you kind of moved the goalpost. It's a difference between the Manosphere being on some pussyfoot and save the community type shit versus them, being willing to blow up the spot at the family gathering. Everybody ain't about that life where they about to blow up the spot. A lot of them separate from the bullshit. A lot of them will separate from the bullshit, but a lot of them don't go and blow up the spot at the family gathering. Now, sometimes
Bernard,
there
my tablet about to
plenty.
overheat. I'm about to come back. My tablet about to overheat. I'm about to come back. Okay, give me a second.
All right. Yeah, so I don't get where he came from. He's like he used the word pussyfooting. Manosphere does any Black Manosphere don't pussyfoot around. So I have a serious problem with that. I have a serious problem.
He feels it's not enough, I guess, angry man energy going around the space, I guess.
Well, I think I said I wasn't gonna throw no more grenades, Bernard, from the Passport Bro section, but I'm about to throw a grenade.
Throw it.
So
go ahead.
You got a 5-second fuse on that grenade, but go ahead.
So I think the point that he is trying to articulate, maybe inartfully so, is something that I've mentioned in this space before, which is no, not the content creators, not the angry man, not the Bernard Riley, etc. But there is an element of your listenership, viewership, that don't really want to walk away from Keisha's hot box.
I think, yeah,
They don't.
I think
They want to talk about her, but they don't. They're not really willing to cut the
cord
things completely. I
mean, if you're charging up some people in the Black Manosphere with not being SYSBM, then okay, fine.
He
But
just said he's in Uganda and he cut them all off. And I think that's his mentality is okay.
Okay, so you're charging up people in the audience with not being in Uganda. I still think the men in this space are more equipped and more willing to not tolerate and put up with bullshit than the average run-of-the-mill person that you find on the street that's not in this space.
I agree.
That's why I say it's bullshit to try to depict us in any way with some simping save Keisha type shit. That's the bullshit. I'm just all right. Go ahead.
Listen, you gotta have some what is the word I'm looking for? Nuance. Some nuance, brother.
Sodomy and chicken. Explain what the fuck does that even mean? Most of the dudes in this space are purple pill. Explain what that means, because I'm getting annoyed by people just throwing that out there.
And what I'm
purple pill.
What I'm
I can explain that a little bit. Go. If you guys
no. I want him to explain it, because you ask 10 people, they get 10 different answers. Some people think if you're getting pussy, you're purple pill. Like I don't even, but anyway.
And that's crazy.
Go ahead, Pablo.
But anyway, what I'm explaining about nuance is, yes, most of the Manosphere men, they recognize what they're seeing. They're seeing the truth. They're seeing this and that. And at the same time, their responses to it in his, I'm maybe speaking for the previous caller, their responses to it are not as strong as he would like them to see, which his response and the Passport Bros response is, fuck it, we walking away from it completely, have at them. That is what he's saying.
I understand that there are plenty of brothers who see the problem. They don't deal with the problem to the extent that they still deal with American Black women. It's a certain select few or a certain select type that meet certain requirements and behave in certain ways, and that's what they deal with. Every now and then they may get some strange from some that they don't want to keep around that much. Just like, you go overseas and I'm sure you get some strange from some women like, oh, I will smash her, but that ain't one that I'm about to keep in my life or try to or try to marry or nothing like that. So I at the end of the day, when you really break down what you're saying, is that you're saying a lot of these men, they become red pill, they change their mentality, they've changed the type of women that they deal with, but they don't have a life that permits them to live overseas. Like, I mean,
they don't have a mentality that allows them to mentally break loose from it completely.
I just described breaking loose.
You just didn't want to hear the nuance in what I was saying again.
I hear the nuance, but
it's not just about the nudity. It's not just about the strange in a foreign land. It's a mental as well as physical and sexual break from the community. It's not just one or the other. So
you're basically saying that if you're not a card carrying hand raised in the air passport bro or SYSBM, that you're somehow invalid in what you're doing and saying regard to
those not my words. That's not my words. I'm explaining to you what he's probably seeing in his head. I'm not saying that, but I think that's what he's getting
intimating.
Right.
Yeah, well, I think he's intimating it poorly.
But
I think there are people who are obsessed with trying to say I'm doing this and y'all not doing and y'all not doing it, or y'all don't wear my banner, or y'all don't claim the same set that I claim.
I don't agree.
This is why but that's what I'm ultimately hearing. I think when you talk about men in this space, you're talking about a collection of men who far more, like I said, far more than run of the mill ain't going for the bullshit.
Right. Now,
Just
if you want to see how I see it, this is how I see it. I
okay.
see the Passport Bros and SYSBM are tools in the tool bag.
That's what I've been saying. There's plenty of tools in the tool
Red
bag.
Pill and the like is a tool in your tool bag
Mm-hmm.
to deal with the current social situation in the United States, and it's not just in the United States, in most several Western countries, right? So to me, it's a tool in your tool bag that you can pull out and put away at random whenever you feel like you need to use one of them.
Everybody agrees with that, though. That's the thing. Everybody that would claim that they're part of the Black Manosphere agrees that that some variation of SYSBM or Passport Bros or whatever is a viable tool in the toolbox. Y'all pushback is not within the Black Manosphere. Y'all pushback are against the detractors of the Black Manosphere, and the same people that fight against y'all, they fight against me. So that's why I don't see a separation. Like you're with the woman, your wife, you're with a compliant, submissive woman that treats you well. I'm with a compliant, submissive woman that treats me well. And we agree with the same problem is in the community. So the only difference is my compliant woman that treats me well happens to be a Black woman born on American soil. Yours happen to be a Dominican woman born. I mean, well, I forgot. I always forget.
She's born in the Dominican Republic. But yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's why.
But
that's why I always. That's what I'm real quick. That's why I always view, some people like me and you essentially on the same team, because it's what we're not going to tolerate and accept. Now, I happen to find something tolerable and acceptable in this environment. Had I not found that, and if I did want to be in a relationship, the passporting would be on the table. It definitely would be on the table. You never know what the future holds. It may be on the table at some point in the future. You never know what the future holds. So that's why I don't want to make a unnecessary division and start talking about the Black Manosphere and lumping. It's like I don't allow people to lump the Black Manosphere in with it's like people want to lump us in with the crying dude saying these are our sisters and our mothers and don't leave them. It's like
Bernie, you didn't say it right. It's sister mothers, our mother sisters.
Whatever the hell he said. There are some people who have a need for whatever reason to try to lump this space in, to try to, I guess, demoralize and kick the legs out from under the table of this space by trying to make it seem like we're that nigga and we're not. And that it pissed me off when people do that. But JC the Conqueror in the building says you could be red pill and still be in a relationship. Agree with that 100%. Christian Hutchinson says men in the manosphere want approval from average Black men and women. I don't know how you determine that. They want approval from average Black men and Black women, not willing to do what's in their best interest. Affects relationships, careers, images. I think the Black Manosphere is the front lines of Black men teaching and talking about Black men doing what's in their best interest. I don't know what y'all be talking about. Fuck.
That was interesting.
And not only doing what's in their best interest, but doing that without consideration for women.
Yeah.
And what they're doing or not doing, and it's about, if a woman's cooperating with you, then you're good. But if she's not, then you cannot. The idea is not to try to force that. Again, we want volunteers, not hostages. And the thing is that the women who are out here on the outskirts, running around by themselves, running loose, devoid of all of that male assistance, help, and supervision, then they have to They just have to accept that and suffer with it. That's just how it's going to happen.
What if they don't though?
Well, they're trying. Well, I will tell you, they're trying not to. But again, the men who look, you can't say men are in control, or men have the lead, or men have the responsibility when you are not cooperating with their, instructions, directions, and guidance. Like you can't put that on me. You can't look at me and go, "Hey, Kevin, you're responsible for this," and I'm like, "Well, are you listening to what?" No, because if I'm responsible for it, then you have to do exactly what it is I say, without fail and without question, and no back talk and none of that stuff. And I know there are women out there who are not going to do that. Now,
All right, JC the Conqueror, thank you for the super chat. What do you mean the crying dude is on the panel in Sodomy and Chicken? No, that's not a. You're talking about somebody who's abandoned the Pope. I ain't going. I ain't going. That's not a good example there. That's not some. I ain't even going.
Yeah,
but no, no.
So here's what I see, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just my evaluation of what women are trying to do. They're trying to get what traditional women get without having to actually do that under traditional format. Which is
explain what you mean, Christian. These guys know what they have to do, but are scared of the blowback. What are you talking about?
What, from women?
I don't know. I want him to explain what he's talking about.
Okay.
Oh no, go ahead. No,
is he on the panel?
Typing in. No, he's not on the panel. He's in the chat room. So I want him to,
yeah, type it out. But you go ahead.
You go ahead. No, you go ahead. You got it.
Yeah. So it looks like to me that you have women who are trying to get the protection, the protection, the provisioning, the problem solving, the leadership, the capabilities, the dedication and the focus and the love and everything else that comes along with the things that men are traditionally supposed to provide without actually having to cooperate with those men. Like you can't have one without the other. Like it doesn't work any other way. And that's and when I hear this, when I hear women complaining about it, and it's, it's all you got to do is pull up any TikTok about a woman complaining about men. And then you'll ask, and then you go through the rest of her TikToks or any of her videos that she's made. There's no mention of a husband or even a man of any worth or even a father figure or even a father that has any, type of positive influence. So you can't get there from here. There's no other way to do it without the men. The women cannot be effective without the men, and the men, in a lot of ways, we can't be effective without the women if we're trying to produce and raise the children in a traditional format. Now, can men raise children on their own? Yeah, we absolutely can. And in a lot of ways, we actually do better when we have custody of the children and we raise them to adulthood. Now, there's some things that's going to be missing, but for the most part, men do better. But we don't. That's not a preferred format. The preferred format and the ideal format is husband, wife, mother, father, and then the child. All of that working together in order to create the positive outcomes that we're looking for. And when you have over 70% out of wedlock birth rate, you can't ignore that fact and then try to relate that to something traditional. That's not traditional. And then it's almost as if women are still trying to get some of what men are, or actually all of what men are supposed to provide without actually having to be up under the leadership, supervision, and guidance of the actual man. And you cannot do it. I don't know any other way to do it. If somebody can explain to me another way to do it, I'm willing to listen. But I just can't think of any other way because I've looked at this several different ways. Can somebody have something else?
But there's a disconnect, right? There's a disconnect between some black people. And I know, people try to think we all should be united because we all got black skin, which is the most ridiculous thing in the world. There is a disconnect because there isn't this one unilateral, quote unquote, black culture, right? There are many different cultures within the quote unquote black culture, if you will. If you have certain people who think one way about black people and other people who think another way about black people, those people are going to have, the differences are going to be, they're not just going to be very, very obvious. They're going to be very, very extreme. And when you talk about brothers who have, went off and dealt with other women and did all this other kind of stuff, what these people have done is they have looked at black culture and said they don't want any parts of that part of it, right? They don't want any parts of it. And what I think happens is people look at that and they're like, what are you talking about? What do you mean you don't want to be with black women? My mama black, my sister black, my daughter black. Black women are great, and then you have the women who say the same thing. Why wouldn't you want to be with us? We're great. So what? We done had a couple kids by a couple dudes. That doesn't mean anything. So what? We're not in shape. So what? We weigh 300 pounds and we 5'3". None of that's supposed to mean anything because, see, it's been static It's been static that way for years. All right? That's been the way it's been for years. And now a lot of those quote unquote cultural norms are being shattered, especially when you're talking about listening to it on media. The black woman is God and all that kind of nonsense. Those voices are getting slighter and slighter. They're getting quieter and quieter, especially on media. And men are looking at women differently these days. Men are looking at women totally different these days, man. I mean, the dudes who run around still talking about the black woman as God, man, they're behind the curve.
And
when
they
used to
looking
be
at
when
they're
they
looking
used to
at
be in front of
women-
it.
Yeah, I know what I'm saying. Is they looking at women differently because the black manosphere has sounded the alarm on the bullshit. That's why
Yes.
I get mad when people try to lump us in with the people who tolerate and put up with the bullshit. Like that ain't it. That ain't
Well,
it.
I mean, you talking about on YouTube, you got a bunch of people up here, man, that just run their damn mouths and have no idea what they're talking about. Usually they're just regurgitating something they heard from another person who didn't know what the hell they were talking about. So, I mean, that's kind of where we are when it comes to, this kind of stuff.
Anyone in particular, X?
Many people. I mean, I could sit up here and name them all day long, but it doesn't matter. We all know who they are, and guess what? They know who they are, too. They know who they are. You think a lot of the people that come up here and talk, man, believe some of the crap that's coming out of their mouth? There's no way they can believe it, because a lot of the things that they say, they know are not true before they even say it. Because if you don't know what you're talking about, there's no way you could possibly believe it's true unless you're insane. Unless you're totally insane. You know you're lying when you open your mouth, but you're saying it anyway. Think about that.
Right.
A lot of crazy mofos walking around there.
Yeah. All right. I didn't think we was gonna make it to the 3-hour mark. The show got a little interesting right down the home stretch. Something was wrong with the link today, and I don't know why. Something was wrong with the link today. I saw a lot of people saying that they couldn't take the link or it was blocking them. I do apologize for that. I wasn't blocking or booting or kicking. Hell, even Hood Conservative was trying to come up and he couldn't come up. So people I rock with was trying to get up and they couldn't come up. So I don't know what the hell going on with StreamYard today, but we had our issues. But we got through it. But oh shit, it's almost, I gotta be somewhere at 2:30. So that's my cue to get the hell off the air. So thank you for everybody who supported the stream today. We ain't come close to the goal, but it's all good. But shout out to everybody in the building, everybody supported the stream, like, share, subscribe, watched in indifference, well, whatever you did to support in any way, shape, or form. A Truism, Kevin C, and definitely Brother Xavier. Shout out to Pablo who just dropped down. Shout out to Pablo. But definitely, big shout out, big thanks to Brother Xavier. Hit me up this morning, like, hey, whenever, basically just like whenever you get free on your schedule, let's get together, do a one-on-one. I said, I'm free right now, let's go. And we got it in, and we made it happen. Great show, covered some hard-hitting topics, as X always does, and it was definitely a good one. I definitely enjoyed the conversation. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Peace. We gone.